Hello everyone, welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Friday, the 20th of June, 2025. My name is CareyHolzman, and I want to give a shout out right out of the gate to our friends over at SCD Keys. Let me put their logo right down here, because I want to remind you that if you're looking for Windows Office or Microsoft Windows license keys, you can save an additional 30% off with our coupon code CAREY. I really appreciate that SCD Keys is extending this offer to you, and it's exclusively for our audience since nobody else would know that coupon code. And they have 6 months of full support, as well as these are legitimate legal license keys, so you get the same product for less money. And we want to just raise everybody's awareness to this because it's not a deal that's going to be around forever. All right, just so you know. And if you want more information, we have all the links for the products in the video notes below the video. And if you have any concerns, reach out to us at our email address. We're happy to address any concerns you have. I've been using these product keys for years. It's who I use for my clients and my own needs as well. And I pay the same price you guys pay. So if you want to know where I'm getting my software from, at least with regards to Microsoft Windows and Office, no secrets. There you go. So again, thank you to SCD Keys for supporting us over here, supporting the audience, looking out for you guys, and making sure that you get a special incentive that, well, quite frankly, other people won't get. All right, welcome in. Let me say hello to everybody today. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room. Dustin Fuller saying hello. There's Eddie Casanova and David Graham. I also see, of course, Mara, our channel administrator, saying hello. There's Mark Gaines and John Lewis. There's also Thomas MacT and our friend Buster. Buster contributes 10 pounds in Super Chat. He says hello, Carey and Mara and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland. The temperature in Edinburgh today is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That sounds lovely. I want to trade 110 today. 110. But, you know, at least it'll go all the way down to like 106, I think, tomorrow. So we got a good cool down coming. James Carter says hello. There's 3D everything. And let's see, Ben Laird. Ben also joins us from Scotland. Welcome in, everybody. Jose Lopez says hello and contributes a $1 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Jose. John Skinner joins us here in the chat room and says hello. I'm reading out the chat room for those of you watching. The people participating are members that support us here and make these videos possible. So because of them, we have content for you today. And as a reward for their support, they get to interact with me live. If you'd like to interact with me during live videos, please support us here so we can continue to go out and buy product and make content for you to enjoy. This is a continuation from last week, where we tried to do the same build only with a returned motherboard from MSI. That motherboard arrived damaged and incomplete. It was missing critical accessories like Wi-Fi antennas and such. We sent it back. We have not yet gotten a refund from Amazon. Now, I know I'm going to get it, but it frustrates me because a lot of things Amazon will give you a refund for within 24 hours. I've sent back about 6 things. And so far, I've only gotten a refund for one thing that was $13. Oh boy. In the meantime, our money is tied up waiting for the credit back to the Amazon account. And then once that money goes back into the Amazon account, then we can proceed to buy other product. I did buy an interesting little Linux-based mini PC that doesn't look like anything I've seen before. We'll get that next week. It's how your contributions are being invested back into the channel, your support. You will see, you know, the money here on the bench. Some items we end up giving away to our members, and other items, if we buy it, we may end up selling it. If we can sell it, then that money goes back into the fund to buy more stuff, to make more content. It's just a big circle. And then the mini PC we ordered, it's a Linux base, and you know I'm not a Linux guy, so I just want to wipe it clean and put Windows on it, because I think for what it costs, it's one of the cheapest. I keep saying this, but the prices keep going down. I mean, they're not going down every day, but at least once every 2 months, I'm seeing a new all-time low price. So I'm thinking, you know, for $120, an N100 with 16 gigs of RAM, not 8, 512 of storage, not 256, and we can throw Windows 11 on it, we're good to go, I think. So we'll find out together when it arrives, and again, if we don't like it, it's Amazon, we can return it. So there's no risk. Also, it's relatively inexpensive. We spent a lot more than that, 5 or 6 times more than that, to review the Ugreen device that we sent back, and waiting on a refund on that as well. So that's what's going on here behind the scenes. And sometimes the video content is held up waiting on orders to arrive. So just so you know, other times we hold up videos because of construction that we still have going on, or our internet was down yesterday for part of the day, and that interfered with our regular scheduled programming. Charlie Purdy joins us, says hello in the chat room. Welcome in, Charlie. And it contributes $10. Thank you, Charlie. Rip City Raider and Andy W6AD say hello. And Barry Klein joins us, saying good afternoon. Mark Gaines says hello. David Graham says Amazon has been misbehaving for me too. Deliveries have been delayed or really slow, and not when promised. Yeah, we're seeing that too. Yeah, across the board. I also left a review on a product, and they said that my review wasn't allowed, and to edit it. And I went to edit it, and it said this account is not allowed to review this product. So I raised that up the ladder to Amazon executives and said, what's going on? And they said, oh, it's a software glitch, try again. And I did, and it still said the same thing. So I took screenshots and I replied to them and said, no, this is not a software glitch. This is discrimination. You're not allowing me specifically to review that specific product. I can review other products, but somebody's getting revenge because they didn't like my honest review, which is messed up. And it's something really stupid too. It's just it's something very subjective, right? It's a pasta sauce of all things, and it's the only review that was left for that pasta sauce is the one I left, and it's the only time I've ever had a review rejected. So it's no big deal if there's something in that review I need to reword. You just hit the edit button. That's the normal process, and it says this account cannot review this product. Software glitch? No. That's vengeful. So I'm raising it up higher up in Amazon in order to make sure they're aware that their employees are doing this. And it's not that important to me. It's just like offensive. That's all. All right. So last Friday, I was trying to do this build. And again, with viewer contributions and memberships, we were able to go out and buy these parts. And what we bought was a return to MSI motherboard that was like $50 less than the normal retail cost. And I said, well, I got my motherboard selected. There were a few things right out of the gate that I don't like. One is it's made by MSI. I don't necessarily it's not that I don't like MSI motherboards. I don't like their BIOS, and I think they charge too much money compared to ASRock, Asus, and Gigabyte for effectively the exact same thing. But when it's $50 off because it's returned, hey, you know, I got nothing against them. So we ordered it, and when we open it up, the box is pretty much empty. We have a motherboard with a broken CPU protection cover. It's a socket protection that's broken, so the socket's all bent up. It's not repairable. No big deal. We make sure when we buy returned product, it's coming from Amazon warehouse with the Amazon return policy. So we sent that back, and I started looking for alternatives. And what I found was this ASRock board. And here's something that makes me feel really dumb. This ASRock board has the latest 850 chipset on it that just came out. The board we previously purchased from MSI has last year's 650 chipset. Wait, there's more. The MSI motherboard has a little cooling fan, a proprietary little cooling fan that would be very difficult to locate and replace when it dies. Not if it dies, when it dies. It's unusual to see a little tiny cooling fan on a motherboard for consumers in 2025. If it was just a regular old fan you can get anywhere with a regular old connector on the end, that'd be one thing, but this is something MSI has done that nobody else has done. So apparently nobody else needs it, and it is a future point of failure. And not only is it a future point of failure, acquiring a fan that will fit in there is going to require a little bit of Googling, figure out where you can buy one. It's likely got to come out of China. You're likely going to wait 3 to 5 weeks to get it. And it's hope that once it does arrive, it'll work. And in the meantime, what are you supposed to do? Now, I'm talking when the machine's out of warranty, or when the motherboard is out of warranty. The kicker is that this motherboard from ASRock is the exact same price as the discounted MSI board that we bought. The used MSI board that has last year's chipset in a cooling fan that will fail, that is a proprietary design, was the same price as the newest chipset from ASRock without that cooling fan. In fact, we could have bought any other motherboard from any other manufacturer and not had that cooling fan. So I don't know what MSI is thinking. I don't know what's going through their mind, but why in the world would you spend penny for penny and dollar for dollar the same amount for last year's model, and it's used, and it has a part that is it will die. I guarantee it. This motherboard and any other motherboard does not have that part. So that's just not an option that you will ever experience in the future of having to deal with when that part fails. It's a moving part. All moving parts fail. Okay, so this turned out to be a blessing in disguise. We got a much more modern motherboard. Went with ASRock. And by the way, I don't mind anybody's BIOS except MSI's. I just don't like the layout of it. It's very, I don't know. It's like they designed it for a 5-year-old. It just offends me. And the amount of money they're charging for the exact same thing their competitors release, only the competitors are releasing things that are less likely going to break with fewer moving parts and selling it at a cheaper price. That's my personal opinion. I will use MSI boards if the price is right. Not every MSI board has a fan on it, but I will always grumble anytime I've got to get in the BIOS. MSI, blah, 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 blah. So the board we ended up going with for the same price as that used MSI is the ASRock AMD B850i Lightning. Now, we've got links to everything in our video notes, which I will put. Well, first of all, let me grab a screen capture, window capture of the Amazon page here. And this is where the link will take you if you're looking for building something similar. So at $209.99, it's a fair price. And you got to remember, we got Wi-Fi built onto these mini ITX boards. We got lots of USB back there, 2.5 gig LAN. The Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi 6E. It's a Ryzen 5 compatible, and let's say Ryzen 5, AM5 Ryzen compatible socket, and supports PCIe Gen 5, and the BIOS flashback option, which is usually found on more expensive boards. Not that that's really important for me, but you know, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So that's our board, brand new. These are all the accessories, right? And this would have been, for example, we didn't really get anything on the used board. The accessories were missing, except for some M.2 screws. That was it. So once again, just to go over the processor, I think this is the best bang for the buck on the AMD side. The 9600X, or maybe even the 9700X, you can find them right around $180, brand new. And it's a great deal. I mean, for what you're getting, a 6-core, 12-thread processor, but there's no cooler included, all right? It does have built-in graphics, so we wouldn't have a problem there. We're still using the rest of the same parts, as I mentioned, the OLOy RGB RAM. Great price. 2 16-gig modules that are DDR5 6000 speed are $88. That's a great deal. And then the solid-state drive, a 1 terabyte Fanxiang, is just $60. That's a Gen 4 drive. I'm not going to drop the extra $100 to put a Gen 5 drive in it. Gen 4 is plenty fast, and it's really the sweet spot for value, performance, and this brand, Fanxiang. I know it looks like it says Rationale, but the little red accents are the top and bottom of the letter F and the letter G. Again, if you look at the text here, it does say the name of the brand right down here. Okay, so you know what to ask for. Now, not all of their products I'm a big fan of, but I do like the S880 line of NVMe drives. Those are your Gen 4 drives with read speeds up to 7,300 megabytes per second, and they're using the same circuitry components as the big name brands. The same NAND chips, the same controller, the same warranty, but because they're not as well known of a brand, they entice you with a much more attractive price. We've put about 36 of these in place, and we haven't seen one fail yet. So performance-wise, they match exactly as the big brands. Warranty matches the same as the big brands. Reliability, the same as the big brands. And probably made in the same factory as all the big brands, honestly. I don't know, but it's all the same components. If you take the stickers off and look at the chips and look at the models and compare that to your favorite brand, except for Samsung, who does everything on their own. Pretty much everybody else is using all the same parts. If you're getting these speeds, you're likely got the same parts, same controller. I will use just a spare power supply to get this system prepped. I've downloaded a BIOS update just in case we need it. And I just found a cooling fan laying around here that we're going to use just temporarily to make sure everything works, gets updated, and just prep the board. Next Friday, if everything goes well today, then what I will do next week is I will look around to see, I think I've got 2 or 3 brand new mini ITX cases in a box. And I will try and figure out which one of those I want to use, or if I don't want to use any of them and I want to order one, which would be really stupid since I already have 2 or 3 here, brand new. The boxes are still taped up. And then depending on what kind of power supply that case requires and what kind of cooler we can put in it. The power supply and the cooler I'm using today, I do not intend to use in the final build or just for testing purposes. All right, so with all that out of the way, hope everybody's having a great Friday as start to well, the beginning of summer. Summer solstice, June 21st, the longest day of the year is tomorrow, and that means summer is officially here as of tomorrow. I was excited to see our friend Ask Your Computer Guy. He did a live video for the first time in about 3 years. And he really enjoyed it. I saw many of you, familiar names, in his chat room as well. And boy, does he have a lot of patience with people. I really admire how slowly and calmly he answered some of the most, well, questions either he's already answered, that somebody wasn't paying attention, or questions involving Linux, even though he's not a Linux channel. I want to remind you that if you go to a Linux channel and start asking them Windows questions, you may not find yourself very welcome over there. And Scott had no issue with that. He doesn't know about Linux, he doesn't really use Linux, and he has no problem explaining that to people. But for whatever reason, there's a certain amount of the community that want to make absolutely sure you know they're using Linux. Like, well, now I can sleep at night. Good for you. But weirdly enough, they seem to feel that they're in control of the conversation and go to a Windows channel and start directing the conversation towards Linux, which I personally find offensive. But Scott handled it beautifully, and he really enjoyed it. He got a great turnout. If you're not subscribed to him, you really should, because you can go back and watch that live stream. Scott enjoyed it, the viewers all enjoyed it, and that'll encourage him to keep making more of those live streams. And I certainly want to see more, I'll tell you that. Let's see, where did my video go? Oh, I'm right here. Okay. William Denton said the ASRock board might be artificially inexpensive due to the issues over X3D chips. I don't know. I mean, that's just speculation, Bill. You could also say it could be because of the price of eggs. I wouldn't play too much into any speculation. It is what it is. And the marketplace and how it shifts, trying to stay on top of that without actually behind the scenes and looking at the accounting and the marketing. I mean, as a consumer, you're looking through the glass trying to see what's going on in the building. I'm telling you from experience, consumers often, they don't even get 10% of what's actually happening behind the scenes. So I'm not saying your speculation is wrong, and we're not using an X3D chip regardless. So for me, it's not really important, but we always make sure we have the latest BIOS. And I imagine it's the same thing as Intel. They're just setting too much voltage to the chip. So it's not like Intel and AMD are that different. They were all founded by the same people. AMD was like 3 people from what was the name of that company in Oregon? And then Intel, or was it the other way around? 2 people? No, maybe in AMD was 5 people that used to work together. And Intel was 3. Andy Grove, Robert Noyce, Gordon Moore. They all used to work together, the Intel guys and the AMD guys. And so what I'm trying to get at is what AMD makes and what Intel makes, they're virtually the same in their design and their design philosophy. And the errors you see with Intel or the errors you see with AMD usually cross over. It's the way it's always been, going all the way back to the original chips. So we're just saying more of the same. And if you're familiar, if you've been in this industry for a while, you will see the same repetition. And you'll see groups of people saying how much better one is than the other. When you take the lid off, they're kind of the same. Kind of. They have more in common. Let me just put it to you that way. They have more in common than they have different. So whatever affects one usually also affects the other one. All right. So whatever the reason, ASRock typically has better pricing. You've seen a lot of ASRock boards, even on the Intel side, which has nothing to do with X3D. And that's why I'm saying the idea that you've got here doesn't play out across the whole motherboard ecosystem that they offer. In other words, if they're having trouble with let's say ASRock is having trouble with X3D chips, why would they lower the price of Intel motherboards? But ASRock has consistently always had lower prices. That's why you keep seeing more and more of ASRock. Even before the X3D chips were released, the ASRock boards were already far better priced, and that's why I thought they were better value. Prior to that, I was using Gigabyte because I thought Gigabyte offered better value, and they did at the time. But that's the beautiful thing about this industry is things continually shift and change. Market leaders keep moving positions, and the ownership and directions of the companies change. What's a company that we love and praise one day can be bought out or taken over or have a different board of directors or bringing a new CEO, and the whole company flips and it's not the same company anymore, for better or for worse. And companies that we used to hate, suddenly we love. Companies we love, suddenly we hate. You know, what's going on with Synology? I don't get it. Something's changed. And I hope it changes back because I don't want to not like them. But yeah, if you missed yesterday's video, boy, I'll tell you what. It felt like betrayal. So in any event, that's the parts we're using and why I feel like this is kind of a best bang for the buck. I think we have the best amount of motherboard for this amount of money, the best CPU on the AMD side for this amount of money, the best RAM at this speed and capacity for this amount of money, and the best solid state drive, Gen 4 of that capacity and that speed for that amount of money. I don't think you can do better than these, in my opinion. Like, I would build this and I would support it and have no problems with that. There's other equipment I would say, as is, no refunds. I don't want to support it. I don't like selling that equipment. I'd much rather throw it in the trash can or donate it to Goodwill before I will put my name behind it. So this is something very minimal that I would still back 100% with the same quality guarantee as everything else I do. It's at that level, but price-wise, I don't think you can do better. Because when you calculate in the price here, let's say it's $200 and $200, these offset, that's $400. The RAM was what, 60, so 460, SSD 60, that's 520. And then all you've got left is your operating system case and power supply. And of course, if you want to add graphics, you know, if you want something more powerful than the built-in graphics, you can throw whatever graphics card you want in on this. The most expensive, the cheapest, whatever you want, you know, whatever on the market that's current, or even a couple years old, go all the way back to a 970 if you want, slap it in there. Just make sure you have a big enough power supply to do it. Make sure your case can hold it. So that's why I'm saying when it comes to how much computing and how much control you have to adjust and accommodate things, I don't think you can do better on brand new parts today for AMD than what I'm showing you. That's my opinion. And everything here is quality. Nothing here is sourced from a swap meet or eBay or some used platform. Everything is brand new. I have used this RAM personally, but when I bought it, it was new. Okay, just so we're clear. The only one who used it is me. The CPU's never been unboxed. I don't know if I must have opened this at some point, but it's very minimally used. But I bought everything new. And so to get everything new at that price for this amount of power, performance, and upgradability, well, that makes it worth, in my opinion, worth making a video on to demonstrate to you you don't have to drop $1,000 on a build to have a good build. And if you want a portable build, sometimes the mini ITX systems do cost a bit more. So the idea that you could still have that mini ITX convenience if that's what you like, but not have to pay the mini ITX convenience price. You used to, but not so much anymore. It's just a little bit more for this motherboard than a regular micro ATX or mini ITX, maybe by 50 bucks, maybe. So, all right, let's see. Dazzle555 says hello. Paul1980 says hello. There's Luke Greeny and Roystar Man. Right on. William Denton says, did you read into what I said that I was being critical of the board? Yeah. When you say I think the price is low because they're burning up AMD X3D chips. Oh, was there a better way to look at that? All right, it's all good. No worries. What bothers me is people want to tell me what they're thinking. Like, you know, I think the weather's this way because of car emissions. Okay, I mean, are you a scientist? No. Well, what do you understand about the environment? Well, I don't have any professional education in it. Okay, well, good to know that you have it all solved. Yeah, it's kind of like, really? So I just see a lot of that on the internet. That's all. Don't take it personally. Just so much speculation with absolutely no verification of foundation, of citation of where they're getting this data. I think they just make it up because it sounds good. So that's kind of the way it came off to me. All right, so no big deal. As you can see, when we open up the motherboard here, we've got really teeny tiny motherboard. Right here. And again, everything's brand new. This board has never been unboxed before. We still have the tape on the I/O shield here, which I can remove that. All right. There we go. There may be some other tape on anything that's got a logo on it, because God forbid if their logo got scratched. So like this maybe has tape on it. I feel like there's something there. If you leave the tape on it, it doesn't hurt anything, but what it will do is it'll start to yellow and bubble up. And it'll make your brand new build look like it's 10 years old in just about 4 months. What you are doing by leaving the tape on it is you're leaving it looking like pristine brand new to the next person you sell it to. And if you want to do that when you sell it used to some stranger so that they have a nice shiny new computer because you never took the plastic off, I mean, it's very nice of you to do that. Yeah, there was plastic on there. All right, so here, let's see, we open this and we have, oh, I don't want to take the whole thing out. There's a piece of plastic, a piece of cardboard that folds open. This is different. And inside we'll have documentation. Oh, it's just a regulatory notice. We've got some SATA cables I don't use, some Velcro zip ties or Velcro ties for cable management in the case. We've got a temperature sensor, which, because the internet is obsessed with computer temperatures, because that's some frustration nobody has, but everybody thinks they have it. So the manufacturers continue to encourage this technochondria. by giving you a temperature sensor so you can monitor your temperatures on your consumer-based electronics. I don't get it, but I don't use them. There's one antenna. We should have another one in here. Yep, there's another antenna. This is an M.2 screw, and this is an M.2 screw. Oh, this is regulatory notice and quick installation guide. All right, so that was on top. I don't know how many people read this. Has anybody ever read the regulatory notice and achieved any useful information from it? I never have. I mean, maybe it's just me. Everybody reads those, just not me. And then there's our Go Faster sticker to put on your case if you want to make it look like a 12-year-old's bedroom. You can absolutely put all the stickers on it. Knock yourself out. What I do is I don't make that decision for customers. If customers want to put stickers on their computers, have at it. What I don't want to do is put stickers on the computer that a customer doesn't want. I see a little box over here. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything in this little box. No, it's just, all that is over there is just, they folded the cardboard over so it acts as a, it can take, it can give, you know, when the, in shipping and handling as the box is being jostled around. I personally like to see folded cardboard much more so than, say, packing peanuts that are messy. Cardboard that's folded in like that, you can kind of push it in and it kind of bounces back, and that's a good solid, at least an inch of give that it's got there. And it's a great way to, you know, basically this whole piece, this whole inner piece is one origami piece of cardboard. So that means they're using less material, and I think it's far more effective. So, you know, kudos to ASRock for that. Looking at the board, you know, there's our PCIe slot intended for GPU, though you don't have to use it as a GPU. If I want to turn this into a streaming computer, I can use the onboard graphics of the chip and slot in my 4-port capture card if I want to. It's just you only get one slot, and you only get 2 RAM slots. The RAM is DDR5, and you have built-in Wi-Fi. The built-in Wi-Fi on this model, and Bluetooth, by the way. The Wi-Fi 6E, which is plenty fine. We've got a giant heatsink right here. This is where the fan was on the MSI, and this is likely an M.2 slot under here. The MSI also had an M.2 on the back. That's not uncommon on many ITX boards. Yeah, we've got one here as well. So a second M.2 in the back without any heatsink. So obviously you wouldn't want to put like a Gen 4 or Gen 5. Those run too hot. But a regular Gen 3 in there, they don't generally need heatsinks. And just bear that in mind. The giant heatsink here, like I say, that's going to be for cooling down a hotter drive, which means faster, higher performance drive. They do get hotter. And these heat sinks are far superior than any heat sink that comes included with an NVMe drive. Do not, in my opinion, I will not use a built-in cooler on an NVMe drive if I have a built-in cooler on the motherboard. The built-in coolers on motherboards are far superior, always, without exception, and they match aesthetically the rest of the board, so they don't look out of place. But if I wanted to put an NVMe drive into a motherboard that did not come with a cooler, then I would much prefer to pay extra for an NVMe that has a cooler built in versus, say, buying a third-party cooler that may be a little rough around the edges to get to fit within your NVMe drive and your motherboard. So for example, on the back here, there's probably these really thin graphene stick-on coolers. They look like stickers, heat sinks rather, that can go on an NVMe drive back here. But anything thicker than that, you won't be able to get this up against the motherboard tray. So for the most part, I would just leave one off. But if I was going to use one, just a simple graphene, like I say, it just looks like a thick sticker. Quite often, the drives that come with those, that's all those drives need, right? The manufacturers have already made this determination for you, so you don't have to do the math and figure it out. But also, you have to think about the clearance on your case or other hardware where heatsinks can get in the way. And so by sticking with the one that comes with the board, if your board comes with one, you eliminate all of that, plus it looks good. So That's my philosophy anyway. Let me get back over to the chat room here right quick. Troll McTrollington, now a member for 4 months, renews membership. He says, I see it reset my membership counter. I used to be way longer than 4 months, but hey, it's AMD time to shine in the sun now compared to Intel. Sure. Well, thank you for renewing your membership. I don't know how YouTube calculates membership, how long you have to be gone before it starts you back at 0, but I do see you're a member for 4 months. I also see the stream is struggling just a little bit right now. That's on us. And I'm just going to give that a minute to recover. I don't know what happened there. We'll see if Mara can check our broadcast channel. It looks like it went back to normal now. Something was kind of interfering, and we had a couple of drop frames there, but everything looks good again. So welcome to live broadcasting on the internet. Still better than yesterday. Barry Klein said, I didn't realize until now this was a mini ITX motherboard, and damn, that thing is tiny. It is, isn't it? Super tiny. But it's got stuff even a big size motherboard doesn't have. For example, the built-in Wi-Fi. You won't find a mini ITX board without built-in Wi-Fi because there's no other way to add it other than through USB. So they all universally include that. With micro ATX and ATX boards, some have Wi-Fi, some don't. And of course, that is going to impact the price. Also, the bigger motherboards will have typically 4 RAM sockets, where mini ITX will only have 2. So you're a little bit more limited just due to there's nowhere to put any more RAM. We're out of real estate. So they almost will always follow those same rules. 2 memory slots and always have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in. And they'll always be the same dimensions. David Graham with a $2 super chat said that's a good pick on PC parts. Right on. Thank you, David. Thank you for the super chat. All right. I think that catches me up. Oh, Shamim Kajviris joins us, and there's Anthony Pete. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Sorry if I missed anybody else that's come in a little bit later. Try my best to stay on top of it and say hello to each of you. Now, to prep this, my first concern is where do these M.2 screws go? These are something that's very easily lost, and my preference is to just put them in the board where they go so that after the board has been sold or years go by, and somebody wants to add another NVMe, where is this? Well, I keep it in the motherboard box. You never gave me the motherboard. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Well, okay, now we're going to have to look on Amazon and find the right type of screws. And all motherboard manufacturers and M.2 drive manufacturers do not agree on what size screw. So it's really important, if you want to keep your life frustration-free, that you just put these where they go in the motherboard and you never have to look for them ever. Whether, you know, here on the back, we've got an NVMe slot I have no intention of using. And if I get my glasses, I can take a closer look. Maybe we can even get to the close-up camera. Let's see if that'll work for me. That helps or makes things worse. Let's take a look. Okay, that's a little better. So right here, in my opinion, the manufacturer should have put a screw on the end of that little silver piece there. So since they didn't do it, we're going to have to do it. That way, if anybody ever wants to put a drive in this slot here, they won't have to go looking for this little screw that they will never remember, and they will claim many times that you never gave it to them. I don't want this conversation. I don't like this conversation. And if the screw was simply put in by the manufacturer, it wouldn't be something I would have to do. But it is what it is. And I'm just telling you the logic and the reasoning on why I do this. And we don't have to tighten it all the way down because we don't want the customer to have a frustration getting that out. But we also don't want the customer complaining they don't have it. You know when they're going to know? when they go to put the drive in. So they're already right there. They can already see the screw. We never got a support call. The customer was never frustrated. It was never our fault, and problem has been avoided. The customer will never know that you just saved them from having to make a support call. They will never know you did that. People are not aware of the problems they don't have. All right, let's see if this comes out any easier. This is the heatsink over the top M.2 slot. I think that's what this is. And we have screws both here and here. Yep. And we've got some film covering up the thermal pad, which if you don't remove the film, the thermal pad doesn't work. I'll set that there for right now. And we'll grab the other screw out of this little bag. And you know me, I like to save these resealable bags because they're great for putting screws from other projects. I don't like putting them in a loose tray or anything. I like that I can separate the screws out in individual bags. And that keeps me happy and organized for some future project. Keep it out of the landfill is all I'm saying. The S880, let's go ahead and get this installed right quick. This is our, I believe this is 1 terabyte. If I can figure out how to get it out of the box. Now lately we've been seeing a lot of NVMe manufacturers including screws, but that doesn't mean those screws will work. They don't know what motherboard you're putting this into, or PlayStation, or Xbox. So just because it comes with those screws doesn't mean they'll fit. I usually hold on to these because you never know. And it looks like they've given us one in there with a little tiny screwdriver. I will not use those little tiny screwdrivers. That's just a very difficult tool to use. However, here's our drive. I'm going to simply put it in just like this. Kind of wiggle and push, and it sits up like a diving, kind of like a diving board is what I think of. And it's going to go down here. And what's interesting is there's nowhere for this M.2 screw to go. It looks like on this design that the heatsink holds the drive down. I am not a fan of that because when you go to take the heatsink off, it can take the whole NVMe drive right out of the socket because the thermal tape sticks to the top. So I'd like if I had the option. So I'm not sure what the screw is for if it's not for holding the NVMe drive down. Let me just check my, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Nope, that is definitely how it works. So I don't know what that screw is for because I don't think there's another NVMe slot. Maybe if you wanted to leave the heatsink off for some reason, you wanted to torture your NVMe drive. Well, regardless, it's an easy install, and what that means is I need to put that little screw back in the bag and put it back in the motherboard box because it is specifically designed for this motherboard. It may work on other motherboards, but I don't know which ones. I do know it works on this one, and I'm just not sure where it would be used. So, nothing wrong with having a spare, I'll tell you that, after giving you all that nightmarish story of finding a screw that works. If you've got extras, you definitely want to keep them where you can find them. Otherwise, you'll be doing some Google searches and some shopping. And you'll have to wait for the mail to arrive and hope you ordered the right one and postpone finishing your project until the part arrives and is the right part, and you spent money for something you already had. So we're going to save that. Just toss it right in there. There we go. Easy peasy. The rest of this, I will save the screws just because you never know. It's quite possible it could fit in a motherboard. Those little screws are so different from motherboard manufacturer to motherboard manufacturer that I would much rather go through which extras I have before I go Googling and looking so I can complete the job faster, not waiting for parts, and can get paid faster by getting the job done and get it over to the customer who's waiting, right? With that done, we can put our CPU in here, which, let's see, do we take these plastic pieces off on this cooler. This cooler is not designed to work with this processor, but it is designed to work with the socket. So I'm not going to leave this cooler in permanently, but it'll be good enough to get us through our prep. And this cooler is going to screw down. Oh, we've never used this. It still has the original thermal paste already pre-applied from AMD. What I like with these AMD coolers with those screws is you can put them face down and the thermal compound doesn't get all over the desk. All right, so what that means is these little brackets come out. And this is another thing. People will change their cooler. And some coolers want these little brackets. And you can buy the kit of brackets from Amazon, but you will spend about $10 and have to wait a couple days. And if that's what's holding you from finishing your project, it's frustrating to be held up because you threw these out. So I will take these and put them in another resealable plastic bag. We keep the back plate. We simply remove these little plastic heatsink tie downs. And then I will just grab a little, you know, a bag from before. This one will be just about perfect. And that's why I save these bags. We'll put that in here. We'll put that in here. And these are universal to all AM5 motherboards. And then, of course, the ones that come off AM4 work with all AM4 boards. They're not difficult to find if you need them, but like I said, if you have to order it and wait for it to arrive, it postpones you being able to complete your project. So I'm not going to lift the board up right now because there's nothing holding the back plate in. So what I want to do at this point is simply open the CPU socket. Let's expose that. And we can see we have a brand new CPU socket. All the pins look beautiful and aligned. And we can now unbox our CPU and get that installed. This is our AMD Ryzen 5 9600X. Let me get these screwdrivers out of my way. Here we go. Let's see. There's our CPU and our Go Faster sticker. There's some documentation. I don't know what good this is to a consumer, but we'll take that and this other piece of paper. This will also go in the motherboard box with other spare parts. The customer gets all that. If the customer wants to throw it away, that's their business. All right, and then I'll also save the sticker. That will also go in the motherboard box. If the customer wants to put stickers all over their computer, that's their decision. I don't do that. All right, let's get this opened up. There's indentations on the sides here, so you can lift this up with without holding the top or bottom of the chip. We want to hold it only by the edges, just like that. Avoid touching the top, avoid touching the bottom. It doesn't break it if you touch it, but the oils from your skin come off, and the contacts then, the quality of the contact that's being made is hindered. It's not as optimal as it is when it's clean, dust-free, fingerprint-free, human skin oil-free. They can work through that, but if you just handle the parts correctly, it's just a concern you don't need. And if we look at the different layouts of sockets here, you know, they'll always tell you to look for the golden triangle, which we have right up in that corner, but it's a little hard to see. If you look closely, though, you will see there's a notch cut out at the very bottom and at the very top, and those notches do not align exactly. One's a little higher than the other one. And the other secret that a lot of people don't tell you is, apart from the whole triangle thing that everybody talks about, you want to look for, when you're putting this in, setting it down without pushing down on it. Because when you set this down in a socket, and Intel is the same way, it will almost always go with the writing facing up where it says AMD Ryzen. And when I say facing up, I mean when you put the board into a tower, this would be the top of the board, this would be the bottom of the board. So the text usually goes top to bottom on the socket. There may be some weird motherboards out there where that's not the case, but it's almost always the case on any Intel or AMD. ATX, micro ATX, extended ATX, mini ITX, they almost always go in the same way. So that is an easy, obvious way to tell. It's a lot easier to see than the little triangle. And you notice when I set that down, I do not push down on it. Right now, it's hovering just over those pins that's underneath of it. So we don't have to worry about damaging the pins if we're not pushing down on this. That's what this job is for right here. Engineers have specified an exact amount or a level of tolerance of pressure that must be applied equally on all four sides for all the pins underneath to make contact. It cannot be less than a certain amount of pressure, and it cannot be more. And so the people that engineer the boards and engineer these sockets specifically have to follow that amount of pressure. So when you're watching YouTube channels and they're demonstrating heatsink properties, they don't consider even the heatsink has to be applied within a tolerance of pressure of too much or too little, or it does not work optimally. And different materials of heatsink, like I've seen someone push a piece of glass down and show how thermal paste spreads. The glass is a porous material. That's just not representative of how a cooler may necessarily spread the paste, because the person pushing it down with their fingers isn't screwing it down to a specific amount of pressure, and they never turn it on, so you can't see how viscous that thermal paste becomes once heat is applied to it. It's not an airtight system. Air gets in, air gets out, and the whole idea, concept of it, for me, screams of somebody who has no concept of thermodynamics and simply points at something and says, well, this is how it works, see? No, it's much more complicated than that. But that doesn't stop them from sharing their observations with you. Their observations are true, but the reasoning behind why it's happening is completely wrong. So all the math has been done for you. The engineers who design the sockets, the engineers who design the heat sinks, they know exactly how much pressure, too much is too much, too little is too little, and they make it so that you don't have to worry about that if you just follow the simple installation instructions. Again, this is all consumer grade stuff, so they pretty much make it bulletproof. The minute you try and outsmart it, that's usually if there's going to be trouble. In my experience, it's usually the end users who are causing their own troubles. I get paid the same. I'm just trying to help you out here. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody already did it. Now we just close this lid down, and as I close it down, it's going to push pressure down onto that socket, and then it's going to make contact with those pins. This throws a lot of people, because when they see content creators do this, they don't realize just how much resistance there is. They think they're doing something wrong, because content creators, they make this look easy. Oh, you just push the lever down. This lever is going to resist you all the way down until you lock it in place. And that's holding that CPU, pushing it down onto those pins at that precise pressure allowance permitted for all four sides equally, right? It's a pretty complex thing that they've engineered here. And I just get frustrated when I see content creators oversimplify what's really happening, and they then improperly educate others who think that content creator knows what they're talking about. Then they spread that information, and around the wheel goes, because no one ever thought to think, I wonder if that's really true. They just go out. That makes sense. You know what also makes sense? If your car doesn't have stickers on it, it won't win a race. Because if you watch any NASCAR race, if you watch any Formula One race, if you watch any IndyCar race, the only cars that win first place have stickers on them. This is the kind of logic. You can laugh at that and go, that's ridiculous. That's the same thing as what they're doing here. It's observational without any education to apply. And so what they're saying is, if a car that is in first place always has stickers, then clearly the cars with the stickers are faster. Now, if you're laughing at that, you should also be laughing at people that want to tell you about thermal compound spreading, and they're showing it in an improper way, because they're just using observation, and there's often a lot going on under the surface that they're just unaware of. And since they're unaware of it, they don't know what they don't know, then they pass that on to you. You don't know what they don't know, and around we go. And so I have to battle this on the internet constantly. So this is the heatsink I'm using here. I'm not a fan of these stock AMD heatsinks that have the AMD logo kind of bulged out of the side. AMD heatsinks can only go on one of two ways, whereas Intel's can go on any of four ways. I always make sure that this little bulged out part goes towards the I/O shield. I don't know how well you can see that. Where it says AMD, it's kind of sticking out. If that was just around the circle, it wouldn't bother me, but because that sticks out right there, you can see there's a lip. That can interfere with installing your RAM, because as you can see, we're right up against the RAM here. And if that little AMD piece sticks out, it's going to hit the RAM and push it sideways. That's not good. So in my opinion, there's only one way to install this cooler, and it doesn't even matter where the cable comes out, which is where I judge cooler orientation on an Intel cooler. That doesn't work on an AMD cooler. At the end of the day, they're kind of the same. It's a very minor difference. And with Intel, I've got 4 choices, and with AMD, I have 2. And once you realize that little part that bulges out is going to hit your RAM, then you're just left with one choice. That's the way I see it. So let me grab a screwdriver here, and we'll start to tighten this down. Just get a couple of the screws started. Start one corner, just with a couple of turns, do the other corner. And then another corner. If you tighten down too much, these screws will just spin, and you have to put a lot of downward pressure because it's starting to tilt, and then you're trying to fight it back. So that's why don't over tighten the screws. Just get them started at first, and then you won't have to work so hard. Now, because this is the last one, I can go a little bit more on this one, come back to the opposite way, go a little bit more on that one, pick another opposite corner here, go a little bit more on that one. Once we've achieved the proper amount of tension, and again, this is the last one, so I could probably just finish that one off. Then we can come back over the opposite way, tighten that one all the way down. Come back over here, tighten this one all the way down. And come back over here. And that's the last one. The idea is that we want to tighten this evenly so that one side is not tighter than another side and then a warp occurs. And you can't see that with the human eye, but you will see it from high running temperatures. Because if you take the heatsink back off and you notice some of your thermal compound looks like it's never been touched, that's because it's just sitting, you know, it could be a little as a human hair away from the top of the CPU if it's tilted. You just can't see that tilt. So that doesn't mean it's not there, and it will tell you basically based on ridiculously high temperatures. So you'd be like, oh, again, user error, you didn't install it correctly. If you feel like, oh, I think maybe I tightened this one down more so than all the others, and you've got this, you know, technochondria about a problem you don't have and you're afraid you're going to have it, and you just want to double check, you don't have to back the screws all the way out. In order to fix any sort of potential warp, just back off all the screws. If after you've tightened them, back them off a couple turns each. Let's do 1, 2, 3. That's it. And I'm not even doing full turns. 1, 2, 3. That's maybe a third of a turn each time. 1, 2, 3. Now we've removed all the tension. Now we can reapply the tension. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep switching opposite corners. 1, 2, 3. And then just one more time around to make sure they're snug. Don't take them, like these come to a complete dead stop. Don't try and turn them any more than that, because if you bust the head of the screw off, well, you're going to need to be buying yourself a brand new heatsink. All right, and again, that's going to delay your build. We've got a couple of headers here. One is a different color. The one that's a different color is for an all-in-one liquid pump. And this one right here says CPU fan etched right on the circuit board. So we don't even have to look at the documentation to see where that goes. This is usually a good time to grab a nylon zip tie and just clean up this cable. Just so once we get it in a case, you know, it's going to be very difficult to get in here to wire tie this later. I'm not going to do it right now because I want to install the RAM and fire this bad boy up. We're just about ready. So we're going to open up this side. This side on some motherboards does not open. And that's because if you had a graphics card here and this opened, it might slam into the graphics card and damage it. So that's why if you're wondering why some motherboards don't do that, It's because of how close they are to the GPU socket. Okay, so it's just because we have such a small space, or the socket is moved up so close to the RAM, or the PCIe slot so close to the RAM, that these don't have room to move back. So they don't move to avoid any damage. But some motherboards, both sides move, and some they don't. So if you're there struggling going, why don't these move? They're not supposed to if that's the way your board is designed. If your friend has a motherboard and theirs move, it's not the same model motherboard you have. So here's our OLOy RAM, which I think is a great value, by the way. And this only goes in one way. We only have 2 sockets, so we don't have to worry about which is channel 1 and which is channel 2. That makes the install a little bit easier. And we want to seat it in there, and I just can't quite tell if I've got it in the right way. I think I do. Let's push down one corner and the other. Oh yeah, that's in the right way. If it's wobbly, like it locks down on one side, but when you go try and lock the other side down, it's like fighting you, you need to turn the RAM around. Do not use brute force on computer parts, otherwise you're doing it wrong, and you're going to break something. I can tell from the orientation of the first one, there's a barcode that's facing me, so I don't even have to look at where the slot is in the socket. I already know which orientation. Since I did one, the rest of them go in the same way. So once you get the first one figured out, just match the others. If we had 4, if we had 8, whatever. Okay, that's our RAM. And then let's grab a power supply. We need a power switch. Yeah, I need a keyboard and a mouse. Okay, let me think about this for a minute. Power supply. I've got just this power supply here, though. Good enough for today. Good testing power supply here. And we only need to hook up 2 cables on this. We have our motherboard 24-pin connector that's going to go on here. You'll notice I like to work on the cardboard box. Primarily, there's 2 reasons. One, I don't want to scratch up. The bottom of the motherboard here is very sharp with all the solder points, and it'll scratch the heck out of your desk. 2, this is a natural anti-static. Cardboard does not conduct electricity. So even though I'm not working on carpet, I also don't need to wear an anti-static strap, because I've already shown you the right way to handle parts where even if there was an electrostatic discharge, it would just go to a ground, like a heatsink or something. Who cares? I will typically always handle the motherboard by the heatsink once it's installed. That way, if there is any static shock, again, it just goes into the heatsink. Who cares? If it makes you feel better to wear an anti-static strap, have at it. Generally speaking, wearing anti-static straps is most important is when you're dealing with the raw parts before they're soldered onto the motherboard. Because once they're soldered onto the board has grounded traces, negating the possibility of really damaging anything through static once the parts are soldered in. But when the parts are loose, and say you're working with electronics and you're desoldering and soldering parts, you could electrostatic discharge and damage those components. But once the components are in a circuit, the circuit's always going to be have a ground. And look, anything's possible, but the ghost of ESD is really more of an internet myth. It's very difficult for somebody to demonstrate ESD damaging anything. There's just a belief system where people choose to believe it, no differently than ghosts. I'm not going to tell you ghosts don't exist. Just because I believe in them or I don't doesn't mean it's true. And if you choose to believe in ESD on soldered in parts and you want to wear an anti-static strap, you could also rub 2 sticks together and chant while rotating counterclockwise if it makes you feel better. Maybe you're right and I'm wrong. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm explaining why I do what I do. And if I was in a different environment, if you saw me in a factory with loose parts and you saw me wearing an anti-static strap, many people who don't listen will say, "Oh, you're a hypocrite, Carey. You said you didn't need to wear one." That's not what I said. And so I deal with a lot of that too, where people think that there's an absolute statement that applies to everyone all the time without exception. Rarely is that ever the case in real life. There's a time and a place, and we accommodate our approach based on that time and place. If I see a familiar friend, I may not greet them the same way as seeing another familiar friend. It's not always the same. When I'm not a computer, and life doesn't work like that. All right, power supply is in. Let me grab my power switch right here. You buy these off Amazon, or you can just pull one off of an old machine you're recycling. Just before you toss it in the recycle bin, pull the switches off, because they're all the same. Now this one also has an LED we can hook up. I don't care about that. I just want the switch. And on these mini ITX boards, they do move or relocate the traditional placement of where the front port headers go off to the side by the power connector, but they're always in the same order, just turned. So if I look for that here on the board, I should see, oh, the writing is so tiny. Again, you can look in documentation for this as well, but as a field service tech, I usually have to just kind of work with my eyes and the tools I have to get the job done quickly, get it done right, get out of there, get that customer back up and running and move on and help the next customer who's waiting. So for me, I have learned, or I've been sort of forced to learn to read the circuit board, and it will tell you we have two connectors side by side here. One's missing a pin off the bottom, one's missing a pin off the top. That means one's a USB 2 header and one's a front panel header. They look exactly the same, but you cannot plug a front panel header onto a USB port. It won't. If it's a full-size one, the missing pin's on the wrong row and it won't seat. Either turn it around, it won't seat either way. Same is true with USB. And you'll say, well, why isn't this working? Because you're on the wrong header. But with this, I could plug this into USB and short it out. That would be bad. So I want to make sure I'm on the right one. And yeah, I do see the writing on the circuit board with these thicker, more magnifying glasses. And it's telling me the connector closest to the edge of the board is the front panel header. And this still goes on the same position, which is top row next to the power LED. If I want to hook the power LED up, since now I've located it, it just goes on the first two pins right beside the power switch, no differently than any other motherboard. It's just that instead of being located horizontally at the bottom, it's located sideways on the side. But the pins go in the same order. Top row is still the top row. The bottom row is still the bottom row. The left side still represents the positive side. We're just taking it from this position, right? And the left side is positive, and we're moving it to this position. Left side is still positive. Everything, top row is still the top row. It's really simple. You got to see it in your head. Or it can be confusing, like, I don't get it. And, you know, that's just from a lack of reference. You haven't done it, or you haven't got it in front of you. Finally, we can start hooking up, our keyboard, mouse, monitor. We're not going to plug in internet yet, because we don't have an operating system. So let's start with the keyboard and mouse over here. Grab that. I'm sure if I set it right next to my other one, I will not get them confused. That's not going to happen. We'll plug this in anywhere. Typically, the dark colored USB ports are usually USB 2. I don't know on this board. I'd have to look, because they don't seem to be following the rules here. I see a light blue and gold. And this does have BIOS flashback, which is why one of the USB ports here is highlighted in blue. And by the way, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To YouTube channel shows a lot of BIOS flashback from different motherboard manufacturers. I don't think we're going to need that today. But that's if you have an older motherboard with a just recently released CPU. That motherboard does not know how to recognize the new CPU that did not exist when this motherboard was made. In which case you would need an older CPU to flash the BIOS the way we're about to, or you need BIOS flashback if you don't have an older CPU to use. Then that retrains the BIOS to recognize the new CPUs so that it'll work. Without that, the system will turn on and nothing will happen. Doesn't hurt anything, but it's just you're just going to see the fan spin and nothing happens without that update. If you buy your CPU and your motherboard at the same time, you probably won't need to use BIOS flashback. It's typically only used when you're replacing a CPU on an older board. So it is a nice feature to have, but I've maybe had one customer in 8 years that ever needed that. So it's there. Whether or not you need it, how important it is, I don't know. It's not very common. at least not in my world. We need to give power to this and HDMI to there. HDMI cable is somewhere on the floor. Here it is. As I mentioned, this AMD chip has built-in graphics. We're going to use that. We have a USB Type-C back here too. That's nice. Okay. Power. I need power. Here's power. Make sure the switch is off. We don't want to let out all the sparks. Now I think everything's good to go. The fan's not being interfered with. There's no cables in the way. Remember, you do have to plug in the CPU power, or you're going to wonder why your brand new system doesn't work. User error. It's almost always going to be user error. Always doubt yourself before blaming the tech. If you're quick to say it's this junk before you're going to look in a mirror and question yourself, you're not going to make a good technician. I'm just telling you, you will not be able to keep up with the pace that corporate IT requires you to work at. You'll take too long. So to be better as a tech, you must ask yourself first, what did I do wrong? Exhaust that before you start blaming bad RAM or bad parts, unless you made them bad. That's the correct order of reality. Bad parts are so rare these days. So anyway, let's turn the switch on here. We'll turn the switch on here, see if we get a fan spin. It's spinning. So let's jump over to this HDMI output, which is right here. Oh, the RAM is starting to glow, if you can see. I don't know if you can see that. But let me switch over. We should hopefully get a post screen. So the Elgato no signal, that's the capture card saying, I'm not receiving any video on this port. Just like your monitor would do when you first turn your computer on, it's waiting for your computer to send a signal for the monitor to display. And in the first boot, usually does take somewhere around 90 seconds to 3 minutes, as the system has to train the memory and identify the CPU you've installed, make some changes in the BIOS, restart and apply those changes, and if everything's good, we should get a logo on the screen, like the ASRock logo. It'll tell us there's nothing to boot to and likely just take us right into the BIOS. A lot of people don't have the patience for this. A lot of home builders that have never done it before don't understand the way the technology works and immediately assume something is wrong because they're impatient and have a false expectation of how this works. Do not rush this process. Give it time. Depending on how much RAM you've got, this could take a long time. I've seen it take upwards of 5 minutes when people that want 96 gigs or 128 gigs of RAM, they wait forever. Now, at what point do you start to worry? Well, if your system shuts off and it doesn't come back on, I'm trying to think of some scenarios here. You see how long that took? That was real time, by the way. And I'm just filling the time by keeping you distracted, because if you sit there and stare at it, that 1 minute's going to feel like an hour and a half. So that's why I'm trying to tell you, be extra patient, give it time. Now, even though the RAM we have installed is at 6,000 megahertz, and it says max speed is like, whatever this number is, that's what it came up to during the training. And the fact that that training did work, yeah, right. Oh, that's the processor speed. Sorry, down here is the RAM speed. You probably can't even see that mouse, can you? Okay, this is our RAM speed at 4800 default, but if we turn on GOCP, or basically the equivalent of XMP, that'll hit 6,000, except don't be too quick to do that. Don't be slamming down on a brand new engine without breaking that engine in first. So we want to make sure that this motherboard and that the operating system all works as expected before you start overclocking the RAM or doing anything that could jeopardize the integrity or reliability in order to achieve higher performance, and then blame the fact that you've got bad components because you caused it to crash by pushing it further. And you did it so quick, you don't know if it's actually bad RAM or if you've just pushed it too hard. So just like having a brand new car engine, you need to break that engine in gently for the first 300 miles or 3,000 miles. Then you want to slam on the gas and you want to be all crazy and wild. Your engine's going to handle that much better. Because we don't know that these parts all work together cooperatively, the only way we can know is to run them at stock speeds, go ahead and install our operating system, install our BIOS, install our drivers, see if we get any blue screens, errors, or problems. If everything goes well, and we've got everything, all the Windows updates have installed, no problem, drivers are in, no problem, everything looks happy and stable, then you want to try and crank up the performance, and suddenly you start having blue screens afterwards, you've got the easiest diagnostic anybody with the most simple brain would understand. You pushed it too hard. It was working before you did that. That's user error. Acknowledge your error, tone it down a bit, and try again until you find a stable overclock. Or just leave it alone, because the amount of time you're spending trying to figure that out, my customers will be already using their computers. So some people, that's the main reason they have a computer, is to just play with it like that. Most people have a computer to actually get something done. And if it can get it done 7% faster because you overclocked it, most people don't even notice that outside of a benchmark. This is all user perspective, user created, and this kind of problem does not exist in corporate America. This kind of stuff is not allowed. We always run everything at stock because we cannot afford to keep paying the IT department to keep revisiting the same computer over and over. Well, that employee cannot be productive every single time. It's a double loss for the company. So, you know, I come from a company background. I want to share this concept with you and why it exists. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you how we do it in the corporate world. So if you want to play with the big boys, this is how the big boys do it, and this is why. Now that we have this installed, let me grab my flash drive that I downloaded the BIOS, because I don't know what version of BIOS we have here. Let me go over to full screen, because I can't see this as well as you guys can. Projector, there we go. Oh, that did not work. Hold on. Wrong one, Carey. HDMI 3 is the one I want to see big screen. There it is. All right, so we're version 3.20. I don't remember what version I downloaded, but it's right in the file name. So I'm going to take my flash drive that I had already downloaded the other night, plug it into any USB port. It does not have to be the highlighted one. That's only required if we're doing BIOS flashback. We would only need to do BIOS flashback if we're just getting a black screen and we never get a system initialization, and we suspect it's because our CPU is newer than the motherboard. So it's very rare that we would ever do that. This makes a lot more sense because we're not blind. We can see the screen. When you use BIOS flashback, you cannot see what's going on. So you're really blind and hoping it's all working when, who knows. So yeah, the max speed I was talking about at 5450, that's the max speed of the 9600X. That I was looking at this and I saw the RAM and I associated those two. That's my bad. So there's our RAM here. And again, it's 6000 speed RAM, but it defaults at 4800. That's normal. Like I said, we can overclock it later, assuming everything works great at 4800, and we've established that. So we have no doubt if we crank that up to 6000 and the system starts crashing, we know exactly how to fix that, right? Slow it down. Just because the RAM says 6000 doesn't mean it can run at 6000 on all motherboards. But it can run faster than some. It'll run between 4800 and 6000 anyway when you overclock it or turn on DOCP. We want to go over here to Tool, right? We're at BIOS version 3.2. We'll go to Tool. We'll go to Instant Flash. And of course, if you have BitLocker enabled, you're going to lock yourself out of your computers. We don't even have anything installed yet. It automatically finds 3.25 on the flash drive. I didn't have to point it to the flash drive. There is no other device attached. I'm not attaching any printers. I'm not attaching any other flash drives or devices, just keyboard, mouse, monitor, and power. In order to avoid any confusion, I would never put in more than one hard drive. One drive, that's it. Once the operating system's installed correctly, then I will add data drives, as many as you want. These days, we mostly just use external drives for data drives in order to keep us up and running. If a system crashes or stops working, we didn't put all our eggs in one basket. It's just not a good idea. And it's a mini ITX build, which means we're dealing with a small case that likely doesn't have room for many drives. But if we did, we would still start only with installing one. Once the OS is installed and everything looks good, we power it down, unplug it from the wall, then go ahead and add your second drive. Turn it back on. That'll become drive D. Turn it back off. Add your next drive. That'll become drive E. It's a slow process, but it makes sure it gets done right. And you're not going to spend an hour and a half trying to figure out, well, I'll just plug all three of my extra drives in and my main drive, and then I'll figure out which one's which when I install. Because that often leads to user error installing on the wrong drive. It also leads to accidentally erasing the wrong drive, and it also results in having to go in and manually reassign the drive letters. How is that faster? But this is not how I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm telling you how I do it. With that, it automatically finds the flash file, and it's 3.25, which is obviously newer than 3.20. And I'll just hit the update button and confirm that's what I want to do. And then again, this is all in real time, and we just leave this alone. It's going to restart. This is why you see the Elgato logo on the screen. That is the capture card again. You're going to see your monitor shut, basically say no signal, meaning there's no video signal for it to display. That's because your system is shut down and restart. Then it starts a BIOS flash process. I strongly recommend you stay away from the system. Like when I mean stay away, keep your hands off of it. You've asked the computer to do something. Now get out of its way and let it perform the task you've asked of it. Don't act as an obstacle or interference unless you, the user, want to create your own problems. If you tell the computer to do something like something critical like this, it is critical that you respect that enough to stay out of your own way. The computer will tell you when it's done. If you're impatient, if you think something's wrong, and you freak out, you panic, and you start shutting things down or trying to interfere, you have likely created a problem that wasn't there. And all it takes is for you to leave it alone. All it takes is a little patience. And if you can't do that, then please do not update your BIOS. Either just don't do it or have somebody else do it for you if you have an impulse control issue. What I like to do is walk away. You don't have to sit here and watch this. Set it to update. Go get a drink out of the refrigerator. Go see what's on TV. The computer will be patient and will wait forever for you. It's the most patient thing in the world. And if you come back to check on the computer and there's something wrong, well, certainly we know that interference and impatience is not the reason, and we can go forward with a diagnostic. But the odds of that happening are extremely low. Unless you interfere with it, it's likely going to succeed over 99% of the time. But if you have anxiety about it, either don't do it or have somebody else do it. I want to make sure that you are getting the end result you expect and that you're not interfering and getting in your own way. The most common computer problems that I fix today are created by users, and it's often due to impatience, intolerance, or they have education from 10 years ago, which was accurate 10 years ago, but is no longer accurate today. They're still doing things the old-fashioned way, and technology has moved on, and we need these people to move on with it or leave it alone. Or they just continue to hire me to fix everything they keep breaking because they don't want to learn. And look, I'm okay with that too. I do my best to give them the information. What they do with it is up to them. But I'm telling you this, most techs won't tell you this because why would they? Would a barber ever tell you you don't need a haircut? Why would they do that? So it's just common sense. This does take a couple minutes. That's normal. Even if that progress bar stops moving, don't worry. It's working. Leave it alone. Have I emphasized that enough? All right, we're going to keep it on screen here as I continue to narrate on top, and I'm going to just move some boxes off my counter. I'll keep all that together. That'll all go back in the motherboard box. Everything is going exactly as we expected to, and I'll look in the drawer here for my Windows 11 installation media. Here we go. Because assuming this works correctly, and it, like I said, if you leave it alone, more than 99% of the time it's going to be fine. The next step will be for us to install Windows 11. Now, we see a first boot, but that doesn't mean it's done. Some BIOS updates may reboot 2-3 times. If you're not sure, then it's not done. Because when it is done, you'll know. And you'll know because if you've already had Windows installed, it will return you back into Windows. And if you haven't got Windows installed and there's no bootable drive, it'll just take you back into the BIOS like we were before. But if it's not done when it reboots, it'll also tell you that it's continuing. And again, you just need to remain hands-off until it completes if you want it to be successful. It's the easiest thing you could ever do, is leave it alone. And yet, people just can't seem to stop messing with it, even when you tell them not to. Again, that is going to result in a payday for me. So there's no benefit in me telling you this where I am profiting. It's the opposite. I'm losing money if you listen to me. Or is losing money if you listen to me. And you'll see this is taking a long time. It's nothing to freak out about. It has to retrain the RAM all over again. It's starting over as though we're turning it on for the first time. Some BIOS updates completely wipe out the previous settings. And when they do that, you're like starting over again. This is not how long it's going to take every single time you want to turn the computer on. This is happening because of the BIOS update. And again, not every BIOS update will take this long. But I want you to understand this is normal. You see here, we're back in the BIOS. It looks like it did before, only now it says we're on BIOS version 3.25, where before it said 3.2. Now we're done. Everything's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and remove the flash drive because with the BIOS now a permanent part of the board, we never need this file again. I will erase this flash drive. So in the future, the next time I need to update a BIOS on any system, I use a blank flash drive, and that way I don't accidentally select the wrong BIOS file. Although most of the time, almost always, it won't even let you go forward with the wrong BIOS. But nonetheless, one file on this at any given time, when I'm done with it, I erase it so I don't have some future use where I plug this in and go, what's this? Click on it out of curiosity, and then, you know, all hell breaks loose. Probably not, but it could happen. Windows 11, this is my Windows 11 right here. Plug that into a USB port somewhere. This one, I guess. I don't know. And we'll switch back over. We'll reboot again. Now, this is the only bootable device. That Fanxiang drive has no partition, no format, no OS. So when we restart, we do not have to tell the BIOS to restart here. It has no choice. It either restarts to this bootable device or it doesn't, meaning it takes us back in the BIOS. Do not change the time. Do not change the date. Do not change the boot order. Just leave it alone if you want to succeed. It is the weirdest advice I've ever had to give in my career. People think they need to do things. The technology doesn't need you to do that anymore. You might have needed to do that 10, 20 years ago. No, that's all in the past now. You need to unlearn. Unless you're working on technology from 20, 30, you know, from the 80s or 90s, then of course that education still applies. But if you're working on modern technology, and especially if it's brand new out of the box, but even if it isn't, stop with the manhandling and fat fingering, trying to take control of something that doesn't need your help. It needs you to stay out of the way. And if you care enough that you don't want to deal with problems, if you don't want unnecessary frustration and diagnostics, you will heed this advice. If not, adjust your expectations accordingly. I wish you the best of luck. I don't want to work that hard. So we're just going to let the system do what it's supposed to do. Let's go back over to the BIOS and let's go to, it's such a ridiculous thing to tell people. But that's the times we're living in today. I don't know what to tell you. All I need to do is just exit the BIOS without making any changes. Discard changes and exit. We haven't made any changes, so whether we save changes or discard doesn't matter. When the system reboots, the only thing it can possibly boot to is that flash drive. That's why we don't need to override the boot order. If you already have another, like let's say we already have Windows on here, then it's going to default to Windows first. But on a brand new build, this is all it can boot to. So you do not need to instruct it where to boot. So we go through the standard practice of, you know, the settings I always set the same. We'll be using Windows 11 Pro only because it's $2 or $3 more than the home version. And well, I will say, if you have home, don't waste your money to upgrade to Pro. But if you have Pro, there's no harm in having it if it's a $3 difference. Again, to have it and not need it is very different than to need it and not have it. And it's cheaper to do it now than it is to upgrade it later. I'm going to say I don't have a product key, which means I'm going to have to pick what version of Windows I'm installing, because the product key determines which version. So we're going backwards. We're going to pick our version and then apply a product key. Because Windows 10 Pro is still a free upgrade to Windows 11 Pro, we can use a Windows 10 Pro license key without the installation of Windows 10 Pro. We only need the Windows 10 Pro license key. Why would we buy that? Because it's about $3 cheaper. So what are you getting for the $3 less? Everything's exactly the same. It's the same as if you bought a Windows 11 Pro license key, only you save $3. That's the only difference. And until Microsoft stops that free upgrade, why would you pay $3 more for a Windows 11 Pro license key when a Windows 10 Pro license key works exactly the same for $3 less? But hey, if you want to spend the extra $3, SCD Keys will sell it to you, and that 30% discount applies to Windows 10 or 11. So your choice. We'll hit next here and agree to the license agreement, and then we're going to go to it's looking for install media. This is why there's only one drive installed. There's only one place I can put this. Disk 1 is the flash drive that contains our Windows 11 installer. Disk 0 is our Fanxiang drive. Look at the size. There is no disk 2, 3, or 4 to add to the confusion. We want disk 0, which is all unallocated space. Hit next, and it's going to summarize, is this everything you want to do? There we go, and just go ahead and install. At this point now, leave it alone. Let it do its job. It's formatting, partitioning, and copying over Windows installation files. It'll reboot automatically and then begin the Windows installation. And then finally, it'll start asking you some questions like username and region, etc. So until we reach that screen, we just sit idly by and wait. The good news is everything's running perfectly so far, and there's nothing to diagnose, there's nothing to figure out and repair. It's all running exactly, optimally, and this is going to save us time by going through this process one by one, then doing it all at once and hoping for the best. And if the best doesn't happen, good luck with that diagnostic. Better you than me. So that's the philosophy I use when I do my installs. Slower is faster. Tortoise in the hare. There's a reason why that story exists. But I'm not a gambling kind of person. Maybe you are. It's your hardware, it's your life, you live it how you want. I'm just sharing with you how I run a business and how I'm able to sustain that business over decades by following a process. If I just make it up as I go, I'm probably not going to be in business very long. All right, let me scroll up and see what I've been missing. I've been so focused on all this. Now, we're already, what, an hour and a half into today's video, and you can understand why I need to split this into two halves. The first half is motherboard prep, and sometimes we get hung up here, and it doesn't make any sense to worry about all the other stuff if we're not even ready. So the videos are traditionally split into two parts. One is motherboard preparation, which includes installing all the hardware, drivers, BIOS, operating system, etc. Make sure that all works, and usually it does. Once all that's done, we're good to move on to the next step. That'll be installing this into a case. I intend to replace that cooler. I might not need to until I test it. I just know that the 9600X requires a more aggressive cooler than a standard. Some of the standard OEM coolers are not good, not good enough. And I also don't know if the case I'm using has like a window where I don't want to see this. Maybe I want a liquid cooler. I don't know yet. But I'm making the assumption that that's on temporarily for now. Bebo with a $2 super chat there a few minutes ago. Thank you, Bebo. Rice Star Man says we will have arrived at paradise if the manufacturers can decide what M.2 screw to use. Well, better yet, there doesn't use any screw at all. When you have the modern, MSI boards have the little twisty plastic thing that just, you turn the plastic, it locks the NVMe down. Asus has the clip where you push the NVMe down and the clip closes on top of it. That's even better. Asus even introduced the heat sinks that have a little button you slide back and the heatsink lifts off. No screws. Let's see more of that, please. Toolless is the best. Barry Klein is talking to Mark Gaines. He says he just had to install a washing machine for a friend. And Barry Klein says, I grew up in the family business of TV and appliances, and if I had $1 for every washing machine I had installed, I hope it went well for you. And I'm just thinking of Money for Nothing. We gotta move. Microwave ovens. Custom kitchen. Deliveries. Yeah. Money for Nothing. Should have learned to play the guitar. That's why I was laughing. I was just thinking of that song. Carlos Hernandez joins us, says hello. Welcome into Carlos. Good to see you. I'm just keeping up with, trying to catch up with your chat comments here. Dennis Hill says hello. Welcome into Dennis. Thanks for hanging out with us today, everybody. Thanks for joining, and looks like everybody's talking to everybody but me, which is fine. I don't feel left out at all. Ben Laird with a 10-pound super chat. Thank you, Ben. Carlos says, thank you, I'm a vet. You gave me a computer a few years back and I still use it. Good to see you too. Right on. I've forgotten if you didn't tell me that. I don't remember. Glad to hear that you benefited from it, because that was the whole idea. All right, is this thing ready yet? Let's switch back over here. I'm caught up with chat. How's this thing doing? Oh yeah, it's been waiting on me, of course. Remember, I said the computer is very patient. No reason for you to rush through and worry about keeping it waiting. All right, United States, yes. What else we got? US keyboard, yes. Second keyboard, no. Network connection, I don't have internet. And then it's gonna say, are you sure? Oh, didn't ask me twice? Right on. Username is I gotta click up here first. Click up here and then type U. Oh, guess I need to turn the keyboard power on. USER, enter. No password, we'll just leave that blank. I'll leave location on, that way the date and time will be set for me and I don't have to worry about that old school setting the clock with the flashing 12. We've moved on, folks. When's the last time you've seen a flashing 12 in any modern electronics? All right, so now we're getting through the final setup, which will eventually lead us to the desktop. Then and only then, I will plug in the internet. Do not have, I see so many people, they don't listen. They reinstall Windows with their internet connection connected. And I tell them not to, and they do it anyway. And then what do? They email me and say, how come this didn't work like the way you showed it? Because you didn't follow the directions I said to follow. Maybe you simply forgot. Oh, yeah, he did say that. Okay. Again, user-created problems are the most common problems I solve in 2025. I don't mind. And if you don't mind, we're all good. Just keep on keeping on. But if you'd like to avoid having problems, because I'm assuming you do, and you don't want to have to ask for help because you're not having problems you need help with, I am making the assumption that universally this is what we all want. But maybe you're different. All right, so I am not telling you what to do. Strongly recommending that you try to avoid having computer issues. It's so much more satisfying to be able to use a computer that's reliable than just being frustrated dealing with one problem after the other. And it's usually the end user, not the computer. That's why I could not offer a retainer to my clients if they could just willy-nilly make changes on the machines on the network without my consent, without including me in those decisions. Because then I'd have to figure out what the heck they did. Oftentimes they couldn't even tell me, I don't know, I saw videos. Instead, I say, just whatever it is you're trying to do, you call me. I got you. I'll take care of it. You don't need to figure out how to do it. That's what you pay me for. I want you to work. Your boss wants you to work. Your boss wants you to call me if I have a retainer with your company. Your boss doesn't want you spending your time messing around with company equipment that you don't own. That's my job. What did I do to you? Why would you make my job so much difficult? And why would you piss off your boss and your boss says, how's that project I asked you to complete? I can't because my computer's not working. Well, did you call Carey? No, I tried fixing it myself. The good news is I don't have any clients like that. And that keeps everybody happy. The employees have machines that just always work. I always keep them updated, clear out temp files. I do all the maintenance remotely at night when they're not around. They have no idea. And that often leads to, what do you even do? We don't see you. We just pay you and you do nothing. How many problems have you had since you've been paying me? None. How much data have you lost? None. How much time has your business been down during operational hours that you could not perform work to help your customers? None. That's what you pay me for. Sometimes they think I'm lying. Okay, go without me. I don't take it personal. You want to try it on your own? Have at it. But if you wait 2 years before you call me back when everything doesn't work anymore because every time something broke, you just kept living with it. And now you can't live with it anymore. Now it's more than just an annoyance. Now it's a complete mess of Christmas lights that are completely tangled up. And you want me to come in now and clean up this mess you've made over the last 2 years? It's going to cost you more than if you would have just kept me on the retainer. And I mean, how much I'm going to charge you. I'm not even including how much you've lost in productivity, how many customers you've pissed off because you weren't able to complete whatever your business is that your customers are hiring you for. You're definitely not going to get me cheaper. That will not save you money. And if you want to go to somebody else, let them clean up your mess, because if I'm not being paid, to clean up that mess that should not have existed, and you think you're getting away cheaper, I want to reassure you it's going to cost you more from my perspective. I don't want somebody to go, well, it cost Carey, we paid Carey to clean up our mess after 2 years, $300, but we were paying him $300 a quarter for the last 2 years. That's $2,400 it would have cost us. So paying him $300 to clean up the mess is cheaper. Oh, no, I'm going to make sure it doesn't work that way. All right. Internet. I need internet, and we can begin our downloads. Where's my internet? Am I standing on it? There it is. Now, I don't know that the Ethernet driver is installed automatically. On some boards they do. Some boards, the network chip may be too new for Windows Update to recognize it. So I know we're going to have undefined items in the device manager. However, if this is active, ASRock has a utility, as many of the other board manufacturers do, to just go and grab your drivers for you that are missing off the board. Let me show you. Let's first of all see if there's even a driver there. So we'll go over to our output here, and sure enough, as you can see on the bottom right corner, it says Auto Driver Installer. This only appeared once we had an internet connection. Do you want to one-step install the latest drivers simply from Auto Driver Installer? On a brand new install, I'm always going to say yes. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, this was not an option. You had to do everything manually by hand. That's a great education and knowledge to have when you're working on systems that old. If you're working on new systems, this is the new way we do it. It's called working smarter, not working harder. So it doesn't mean what you know is wrong. It's out of date. And it still applies. Your knowledge and experience still apply to that older equipment, but it does not apply to the newer equipment. There is a difference. And while you can still do things the hard way if you want to, why would you? If you're working for a living and you get paid based on how much work you got done today, you want to do less work and get paid less? Do more work, get less done, and get paid less? Because I don't. But again, I'm making an assumption that you and I would universally agree on that. The screen blanking out is because drivers are installing it from Windows updates in the background automatically without our consent or permission, because that's the way Windows works. In order to protect you from yourself, the internet is a profoundly dangerous place, and people are oblivious that they are connecting to billions of people around the world, many of whom want to attack you, steal your identity, and steal money from you. And I mean a lot of them. And you can't tell them apart. It's all ones and zeros. So Windows' job is to make sure you're protected. If you don't think you need that protection, you probably don't need Windows. You're probably more aligned to a Linux user, and you should be using Linux. But for the rest of us, the non-technical people that don't want to become nerds, we want to use a computer and we don't want to have to, have some prerequisite of knowledge. Windows is the platform designed for the planet. And Linux is used by people that are more technically minded, who want more control and are not intimidated by the technology. Then, of course, Mac is really designed for people that feel like Windows is still too complicated, and they pay an additional fee for that. Apple computers are very expensive, and if Apple tells you that your computer is not compliant with the latest operating system, people in Apple don't throw a fit and talk about e-waste. Only Windows users do that. The Apple users, they just pay the money just to deal with this. And that's what comes along with owning Apple products. They retire equipment all the time, but the Apple community just goes with it. The Windows community, well, they'll push back because the part of that Windows community should be using Linux. They shouldn't be using Apple. They should not be using Windows. And they're getting mad at Windows for an operating system that wasn't designed for them. So again, user error here. It's a complete false understanding of who the operating system was designed for. And if they're at that level, they should not be using Windows. It wasn't designed for you. On the other hand, if you're working at a job and the job sits you in front of an Apple computer or a Linux computer or a Windows computer, you have a choice to quit that job if you're that passionate about it. Otherwise, you're paid to go to work, and you'll use the company equipment, and you'll use the operating system provided by the company, or you'll be out of a job. So home users tend to be a lot more fickle and a lot more petty. Business users, on the other hand, they simply want to get a job done and help their customers. And they need employees, and they pay those employees. And those employees can then take their earnings and go buy a Windows computer that they can later complain about. It's two different worlds. We live on one world, but what's going on in our society are the people who work and the people who don't. And the people who don't work don't have a clue how work works. And it's frustrating because it's so obvious to me. Since I don't have a choice, it baffles my mind so many people don't work. I wish I knew how I could pay my bills and not work and join them on the couch to whine and complain about Windows and not having any money. Because you obviously have money if you've got electricity and food and you can spend time watching YouTube videos. I don't mean that as an insult, I'm just jealous. I would love that. All right, again, as drivers install, particularly video drivers, the screen will blank out and then come back. The other thing I need to worry about is the screen blanking out due to the power saving timer. So you notice I always go in at some point and set the screen to shut off after like 3 hours or I don't know what the pattern is and how it's defined, why some machines you can install a clean copy of Windows and it'll default to a 3-minute timer on the monitor. On other machines it'll be never. I don't know how it's being defined. But it's not a big deal to check it and for me to put it where I want it. But it is not consistent. I cannot rely on Windows to set that the same way every time. And I have no idea how Windows is getting that information to make that decision. And when I'm broadcasting, if the screen goes blank on me, you know, it's a little bit of confusion. Why did that happen? Because it's the same effect when a driver's installing. The difference is when a driver installs, the screen comes back. If it's a timer, then I have to wiggle the mouse for the screen to come back.
You've got mail.
I've got mail? All right. Well, we're waiting for drivers to install. Let me check the mail. Hold on a minute. I got a screen I can't read. It's too tiny. I got to go full screen over here on my side of things so I can see this video the way you guys at home see it. Installation has been successfully completed. Okay. Great. And let's adjust my display because it looks like it's in 4K. Yeah, it's too tiny. 1920 by 1080 is what I want. Keep the changes. Keep the change. And then I'm going to edit that power plan right quick so I don't forget. And why did that come up? Didn't want to search for it. Well, I'll have to go through all this anyway. Eventually, so that's fine. Close this all out. Let's try again. Edit. That's what I want right there. Enter. See here, the default of 5 minutes. I'll change that to 3 hours, and I never put a computer to sleep unless it has batteries. So we're not dealing with a computer running on batteries. There's no reason to put it to sleep. Strange defaults. Now with that all done, we'll hit, well, I don't like this little icon down here, so I get rid of that. It's a personal pet peeve. Search permissions, if I type it correctly. Scroll all the way to the bottom to more info, or more settings, I guess. Turn that off. Finally, I can go to Windows Update. And you see it's been installing in the background this whole time. I'm going to hit Install All. If it fails, it's because it was already installing a display driver as we were installing our display driver at the same time. There can be only one. One will fail. And so this will be, the next time it scans for updates, intelligent enough to realize you don't need this one anymore, so you're not stuck in a loop. This is, again, a feature relatively new to the Windows update processes. Back in Windows XP days, this would have been something you had to manually disable. Today, you don't need that education. It doesn't benefit you. While we're waiting, I'm also going to make a couple changes under advanced settings or advanced options. I'm going to turn on to automatically receive the updates, to keep me up to date, and to notify me when it wants to restart. Under optional updates, there are 3 available that may already be drivers we've installed, but we'll grab them anyway because if they're older drivers, it'll just simply fail those installs, and there's no harm in saying, hey, do that. You cannot, essentially you can't install an older driver. So, not generally. So you're safe to just double up if it's offered, and it'll automatically correct itself. And the next time you reboot and check for updates, it won't be in the list anymore. Emails. Let's take a look. What do we have in email? Our friend Charlie Purdy sends an Amazon gift card. He says, this is for the channel and the community. Please accept this as a token of my gratitude. It is a very generous Amazon gift card indeed. Thank you again to our good friend Charlie Purdy, who, along with Buster and Mark Gaines and many others, is not only a member and supports us here through monthly membership, but also very generously sends us Amazon gift cards. And if you know this channel, you know almost everything you see on this bench came from Amazon. And Amazon doesn't take any commission. Like super chats, YouTube takes 30% of that. Your memberships, YouTube takes 30% of that. PayPal contributions, PayPal takes 3% of that. The only thing that you can contribute where I get all of it is an Amazon gift card. So if you send $100 an Amazon gift card, I get $100 an Amazon gift card. And given I'm going to take the membership money, the super chat money, and the PayPal money and spend it at Amazon anyway, why not cut to the chase? So I really appreciate when people do that. It is never expected, but it's always appreciated. And it is the actual money we use to fund, well, even this video here. This was all paid for with membership money. That is not funding my personal vacation to the Bahamas. Maybe someday. It's all a ruse just to get me to the Bahamas. All right, so while that's installing, we're going to go back over to camera 1 and see if you've got any questions for me here in the chat room. Hey, there's our friend Mike's unboxing, reviews, and how-to. Always good to see a peer in the industry, somebody who works and has a YouTube channel showcasing the work, not just a hobbyist. And there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. I'm not putting down hobbyists. Hobbyists spend a lot of money. Let me give you an example. That little nano KVM. If we go on Amazon and we buy the nano KVM, it's already assembled in a little cube, it's like $66. But if you just want the little project board, it's 40 bucks. But then you have to buy the memory card. That's like $5. And you got to source and figure out how to get the image and burn it to a bootable micro SD card. That may require you to buy a little USB to micro SD card reader. That's another $6 or $7 minimal. Unless you've already got a micro SD card reader built into your system, maybe you do. But then you're going to need an HDMI cable, which actually you're going to need that regardless. You're going to need a USB-C to a USB-A cable, which the already assembled version for 66 bucks includes 2 of them. On the project board, you have to buy your own. They're about $6 a piece. If you buy just a data charging cable, sorry, just a charging cable, it won't transfer data and your KVM isn't going to work. So you have to buy a data sync cable, essentially. They're a little bit more money, but you can screw it up and get the wrong one. That's all I'm saying. All right. Then there's still no case and there's no screen. That's what the pre-built one comes with. So you'd have to figure out your own case, or maybe you don't want a case. Maybe you don't want the screen. Good luck figuring out what the heck it's doing if it's not working without the screen to tell you. When it's all said and done, and you add up everything, you're going to spend more to get less because you wanted to build it yourself. If you buy it pre-built, you already get such as the ATX adapter to control the powering on and off and resetting a a desktop computer. You don't get that on the $40 model. It also includes a ribbon cable to connect that to your motherboard. You don't get that on the $40 model. You don't get the memory card. And the memory card that you get is already programmed. You don't have to figure out where to download it, how to burn it, or write it to the memory card, and then have a memory card reader on another machine to do that, so you can then put that. It's going to cost you $80 or $90 instead of spending $66, $70 for it already built in a case with a screen, with the cables, with the memory card. So yes, doing it yourself is a project. It's going to take longer. It's going to cost you more. That is universally across the board what a hobby is. There's nothing wrong with that. People get entertainment from that. There's the rest of us who need to get a job done. So if it's faster, cheaper, and you can get to work, and you're not investing as much money, and then more of what you're earning you can keep, then that's a sustainable business model. And so there's this whole slew of enthusiasts spending all kinds of time and money on things that are very impractical, that a business could not sustain, that many viewers watch and do the same, and they spend money with nothing in return but the enjoyment they get. But in business, we have to achieve some form of profit in order to keep going. So I really appreciate when I see channels like Live Windows Training with Doug Betts, Ask Your Computer Guy, and Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, because they work in the industry, and so I relate to them better. And we're like the minority on YouTube in the tech arena showing this. The real working technicians that do this for a living and have practical advice do not make up the bulk of viewers or subscribers of this type of content. So for me, finding those channels, you know, finding Scott or Ask Your Computer Guy, finding Doug or Live Windows Training, finding Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, who's even in another country, he's in England, there's like birds of a feather. I'm like, oh, there's somebody I can relate to. There's somebody who understands. There's somebody else doing similar things that I'm doing, conveying that practical information that is so lacking on YouTube, that I want to do all I can to subscribe to them, promote them, and anytime I can find another one, you know. It saddens me when Salem Techsperts doesn't want to do computer repairs and shuts their computer repair shop down so they can focus on becoming an enthusiast. It's just so disappointing. I understand the decision, but at that point, the whole thing that attracted me to the channel has now been voluntarily dismissed so that they can become an enthusiast. It was good while it lasted. If you like my content, if you enjoy listening to people that are in the industry, be sure, if you haven't before, check out Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. He doesn't pay me to tell you this. I'm purely, you know, thrilled that he's here, and I'm always tickled when he shows up to say hello. We haven't gotten him on the show to interview him. I think he's afraid of me. Who wouldn't be? I'm an intimidating guy. I weigh 400 pounds, I'm 10 feet tall, and I bite. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure I will wear him down and he will join us someday. And hello to Kath. As I have Carey and Mara, there is Mike and Kath, the team that put together the videos there at Mike's Unboxing Review, and the team that put our videos together. We have a lot in common. He's like my little brother in England, if I had a British brother. Barry Klein says, okay, we've got this all figured out then. Is your job to sell it to Carey and Mitch? Oh, that's part of some other discussion.
Yeah, I was talking about you have mail again.
Okay.
What we were talking, wants us to do like a cheat it or just do a cheat song kind of thing where Mitch dresses up as the other.
Well, I would have to be Cheech because Chong is tall.
That's what I told, because he's like, you should do it. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I said Mitch would be better at that.
I don't know. Can I do Cheech? Hey, man. You got the Santa Claus, the man with the hairy jaws. Who are you singing about, man? Singing about Santa Claus. Oh yeah, man, I played with those dudes. No, man, Santa Claus is not a band, man. Oh yeah, yeah, right. Far out. Does he have that old lady? Yeah, he lives up at the North Pole with his old lady. Yeah, dude, I play. Is this going to be cited for somehow being culturally insensitive? Oh, you can't do accents, Gary, even though people sound like that. Actually, nobody sounds like that, Gary. Do you hear yourself? No. Check my email. Yes. Hey, our friend Buster, look at this. Comes through with a Amazon gift card. Again, a generous Amazon gift card. He says, happy birthday, Carey, on Monday, your friend Buster. Well, yes, Monday is my birthday. Thank you. I will be another year older. I'm waiting for those birthdays where I get another year younger. My mother suggested a long time ago that we should just count up to 50. And then once you hit 50, every birthday after that, you go the other way. And when you hit 0, you're done. So that would make me 43. Right. Frank Jimmy says, I seem to remember a Sister Mary Elephant skit. Class is all talking. The teacher can't teach. Class, shut up! Thank you. Yeah. All right, let's go to, let's see, we're just waiting for me to reboot it. It should be. Oh, it is. So after the show, I will log into SCD Keys and I will buy a Windows 10 Pro license key because it's cheaper. And I'm going to just add that license key right into the activation code of Windows 11. If everything installs correctly, which so far it's doing perfectly, I assume that's going to continue without any errors. Everything's running exactly as it should. Then I will activate Windows. If I had activated Windows on that other motherboard and I needed to send the board back, I lose that copy of Windows forever. It's one of the reasons they can sell the licenses so cheap is they're not movable. Once it gets embedded to that motherboard, it never moves. So that's why I make sure activating Windows is one of the last things I do. Given that activation doesn't really prevent us from doing any work, Windows doesn't ever, you could run Windows indefinitely without activation. You may not be able to change wallpaper or some customizations, but every application still opens, the system still runs at full speed, and you get a little watermark in the right corner that says you need to activate Windows. I've got a friend of mine that leaves Windows unactivated and a computer in their kitchen for 5 or 6 years. I go, doesn't that bother you? It doesn't bother us. They don't care. It doesn't hold anything back. They don't care about customizing it. It's usually just playing videos in the background that they listen to in the kitchen, or they pull up recipes. They don't. I'm like, it's only $15 for a license. They're like, no, it doesn't matter. They said if it bothers you, you can put it on there. Yeah. Anyway, there's no reason to rush a Windows activation, especially if the system hasn't been fully vetted. And if for any reason the board has to go back, your license goes with the board, and you'll have to buy another license when you get another board. That also means if you're buying a used board from eBay or Amazon, you might already have a license from the previous owner in there. You'll just have to figure out if it's a home license or a pro license. Because when you align it correctly, it just auto-activates, you're good to go. So thank you again, Buster. And of course, Charlie Purdy. You guys rock. Barry Klein said, I'm laid back from a members-only chat. Well, I'm not constantly defending myself against people who come in late and want to ask questions that we've already answered and they can't be bothered to catch up. This is why if you go to some movie theaters or you go to a play in New York City, when they close the doors to the auditorium, which is usually within 10 to 15 minutes after the play starts, you cannot get in. They will not let you in. So that's because as you're, walking down the aisle looking for your seat, you're distracting everybody, including the actors on stage. It is disrespectful, it is annoying, and it's completely avoidable that you could have been there on time like everybody else. The fact that you're late for whatever reason isn't my problem. Don't interrupt my experience. Just give them a refund and let them come another time. Movie theaters are doing that now too. They're starting to close the doors and say, if you haven't arrived within 15 minutes after this movie starts, and I mean not the trailers, because the trailers are sometimes 15, 20 minutes before the movie starts after the started time. So if the movie starts at 7:30, the trailers play. And these days, the trailers will play for 15 or 20 minutes, then the movie starts. So 7:30 really means closer to 8. And then at 8 o'clock, usually that's it, the doors are closed. Sorry, the movie theater will tell you, we're sorry you missed your movie. Come see customer service and we'll give you tickets to the next, showing, or, at your discretion, you can reuse them in the future if you don't have any more time today. Come back when you do. I think that's the right way. But when we're doing live videos on YouTube and anybody can pop in at any time, have no idea what they've missed, and then want to repeat back things I've already said or ask questions I've already answered, or they want to challenge me. I don't even know who these people are. If Mike's Unboxing and Review, if people that I know in the chat room want to challenge me and I have some idea of who you are, that's fine. But if I don't even know who the challenge is coming from, it just sounds like somebody wants attention. And so, yeah, I get a lot more defensive and frustrated because of these unnecessary distractions. And they're not benefiting anybody. They're changing the entire tone of the video. So by making it members only, I have a much better time. And if people truly enjoy this channel, if it truly has value to them, I need their support, because if I don't get it, I'll be back to either, promoting some corporate thing that I'm, reading a script they tell me to read in order to bring in the money, or just give up on this channel idea because it's financially, it's just not feasible, if that's what happens. And then those free viewers won't have content at all, not for me, regardless, because I won't be able to make it. When people ask Scott, they ask your computer guy why he doesn't make more content. He's like, I have a job. I have a wife, I have a family. I can't just make content like Carey can. I've got all these other things going. I don't think he said like Carey can. I'm putting that in. But yeah, I've given up 50% of my, probably 60 to 70% of my daily work that is done for businesses, because as my clients have dropped off, I've not replaced them. Because as clients were dropping off, YouTube was growing. So now YouTube is shrinking, right? The money's going away. I'm bigger than I've ever been, more popular than I've ever been, and haven't made this little money than I've made here on YouTube in 8 years. It's very strange what's happening. And then on the other side, I have, the clients I still have that I've had for years, but they're going to retire at some point. And I've got to make a decision. Do I want to invest more time on that side, or will the YouTube thing come back? But if the YouTube thing is fading out, and if viewers are harassing me, not you guys, but I'm just talking like free viewers, even if it's a small percentage, even if the vast majority of free viewers are fine, it only takes a couple to spoil the whole experience. And then I feel like I'm babysitting people and I'm doing it for free. And that's upsetting to me, that somebody else has dropped their kids off to me because they don't want to deal with their kids. And that's really offensive to me too. It's just so much disrespect there. They're your problem now. Well, no, they're not going to be my problem. So those are the challenges I've been facing, and that's why with the members only, if I seem more relaxed, I'm not constantly having to push back against people for no apparent reason. Yeah. And if you're wondering, is he going to keep it this way? What do you think? You as viewers in the chat, clearly you probably want to see me more relaxed than being wound up by other people. Those other people get off on it, but you guys are probably don't enjoy vicariously seeing me go through that any more than I enjoy it. So it's just the selfishness of those individuals, and by keeping them out, look how much better everything is. So we'll likely continue that. Katrina H says hello, welcome into Katrina. You're all great supporters, and I consider you all friends. And when I'm complaining about viewers, you know I'm not talking about you. If they showed the same kind of support and respect you guys show, they'd be welcome in. And I mean the category, not the individuals. The category of free viewers, I have nothing against that category. It's just that within that category exist troublemakers, and it's impossible to separate them out. Shop Persian Rugs with a $2 super chat. Would you consider doing another hot dog build? Sure, of course. And Shop Persian Rugs again with another $2 super chat. Maybe a part 2 shop and build. Yeah, we could totally do that. Frank Jimmy says Scott has tequila shots to drink. He does. And Scott says he has the bladder of an infant, so he doesn't understand how I can stand up here for 8 hours and not use a restroom. But that's just the kind of control freak I am. It's never been a problem my whole life. Bathroom breaks are very rare that I have to interrupt what I'm doing. What I'm doing, I'll finish, and then I'll go bathroom break. It can wait. It's probably not healthy. Let's see. Shop Persian Rugs with another $2. He says, I listen to the hot dog build when I need a laugh. Yeah, well, you know, the problem with the hot dog build is you're saying, would you waste money to buy crappy hardware to build a crappy system that emulates what a lot of people do on YouTube? That's impractical, it's unreliable, and it's gaudy. It's got all kinds of blinking lights. It's difficult to work on. But when it's all put together, it looks beautiful. It's only when you take it apart and see how it's made that you realize, oh, so that's how a hot dog is made. Suddenly now they're not so appealing. So that's the downside, is then what do I do with it, you know? But I still have the hot dog build from before. It's still sitting over here in Studio C. I'm thinking I'll disassemble it and use it for something else, quite frankly. It's got some good parts. It's got a good motherboard in it now. I was trying to fix the hot dog build and make it reputable, make it good. And the other parts, like the old motherboard and stuff, I still have that too. I don't know why. It should have just gone in a trash can, but I still have it, thinking maybe someday I can bring it back up again. Mike says, I'm not working anymore. I'm retired. The BBC killed me off early. I thought you had a... Don't you say in your videos that you're off to the shop? Or are you just shopping? I thought when you said shop, you're referring to you have your own shop? I don't know what's going on over there. He's British. Of course you retired early. They only do 6 episodes per series over there. You don't have the 24 episode seasons we have here in America. They keep you employed season after season. You get 6 episode series, and you're lucky if you get 3 series and you're done. Must be nice. I've got this wildly successful show called The IT Crowd. So do I, said Miranda Hart. Let's stop now. We've made 30 episodes after 4 years, 5 years. That ought to be enough. Maybe we'll do a holiday special. Sounds good, said no one in America. Mike's Unboxing says the check's in the post. The check's in the mail, huh? Barry Klein, when referring to the hot dog build and why I'm holding on to some of those old crappy parts, is what he's hearing me say is someday I might polish that turd. You can polish it, it's still a turd. Lugrinia said, I installed Windows 11 in the Mucitex build and gave it to my nephew. He's enjoying it, and the build lives on. The Mucitex was sort of borderline hot dog. It wasn't really all that bad. The Kadyr's case was the worst, just the worst. It still is today. They still sell the worst cases on Amazon, in my opinion. So if I wanted to do a hot dog build and I wanted one of the worst cases money could buy, I would look at Kadairs. I'll name them. I'm not afraid of them. What are they going to do? Throw rocks at me? I guess we can go back and check for updates again, right? That's just, I'm sure it rebooted a long time ago. HDMI 3. Oh, okay. Opt out of backup. I take care of that myself. Skip for now. And if we want to look at our system properties, just to verify that everything's installed correctly, that it's seeing the 32 gigs of RAM, the processor, the version of Windows. We can check Device Manager. The driver installer that popped up automatically from ASRock was very specific to this motherboard and identifies what's missing or old. So in theory, everything in the Device Manager should be perfect. And it is. So we don't have to use any third-party driver utilities. We don't have to do anything by hand. That's why they don't put driver disks in motherboard boxes anymore, since most people don't have optical drives anymore. So with that, I guess the only other thing we can look at is if Secure Boot is turned on, which it may not be by default. It says Secure Boot state is off. If we want to turn that on, I'm going to show you. It's really easy. We'll just do a restart. And as the system restarts, I'm going to go into the BIOS. So I'll start pressing delete over and over again right now. Hopefully that'll get us into the BIOS. In the BIOS, there are Secure Boot keys that are assigned by the manufacturer, in this case ASRock. And they'll be over in the security section under Secure Boot. And what we want to do is turn Secure Boot on. Secure Boot can be enabled when the system is in user mode. Okay, so we're going to first put this in user mode, which I guess is standard. Discard changes? No. Hold on. Okay, yeah, now it says user right up here at the top. Whoops. Go back. If you notice up here, it said setup, meaning it wasn't set up yet. So when we're in user mode, we should be able to turn on Secure Boot, and we can install the default Secure Boot keys, which may or may not be required. And then we'll save changes and exit, and it shows the settings we're changing. And if we did it all correctly, Secure Boot will automatically be on when we check it now. It's just that easy. Now, some BIOSes vary in where they locate it or what they name it, but that's generally the procedure. If Secure Boot is still off when Windows comes back up, then that means I need to install the factory keys. We've had a couple of prototype systems sent to us where they forgot to put the keys in. They being the maker of the system, not the BIOS maker. Now, I don't know why this is taking so long to boot, but we're going to give that just a minute here, and hopefully it'll fire back up. I didn't expect it to take this long, but that doesn't mean anything's wrong. See? Just patience. When this comes up, Secure Boot mode might just be on now. Again, if Secure Boot is still off, we just have to install the default keys in the same section of the BIOS and save and exit. And that will definitely turn it on. All right, did that do it? Let's find out. We're live, unscripted. Am I just making stuff up, or do I know what I'm talking about? Yes, I know what I'm talking about because Secure Boot is now on. Okay, there you go. Not that anybody asked. Let's go back to Windows updates. The CPU cooler is working way better than I thought it was going to. So again, until I figure out what case I'm going to use, that'll determine what limitations I have for cooler and power supply. Some really small cases require the SFX or small form factor power supplies. Others will take the regular ATX style, and some still have an adapter to go either or. Looks like we're all updated. If we want to check performance, that's a Gen 4 NVMe drive. We should get up to 7,300 megabytes per second if we've installed it correctly and it's in the right slot and performing the way it's supposed to. Let's check. I'm going to grab my utilities flash drive right here. Plug it into any slot and go back over here. Well, I'm just going to close that. Come on. Down here, go to our USB drive. You know me, I'm going to put VLC on here. And I want Crystal Disk Mark Portable Edition. If we want to test the temps on this cooler, just out of curiosity, I can bring over Cinebench and HWI info. So we'll copy those over. Also, want Uncle Carey's Windows 10 optimizer. I want my Windows 11 network fix so I can browse my network without getting the error. Windows updates have installed new security defaults that require essentially PowerShell to get by. So for example, if I click on the yellow folder and I want to go to my network and I click on the network, it's got us on a public network. I don't want to be on a public network. I'm not at Starbucks. So it says network discovery and sharing are turned off. And this is so you're protected against hackers. But I'm in my own house here or in my own business, so I want to turn that on. And it says, do you want to turn it on for all public network? No, no. I want to make this network a private network. So it's defaulting to that for your security. Eventually, it's going to come up with all the computers on the network. The DS923, that's our Synology, and it won't let me access it. Why not? Because of added security. I don't want to use a name and password, and I don't want to use SMB authentication. I just want to access a share on my network the same as I would if it were an attached USB drive. Only everybody on the network can use and read and write to that USB drive. It just so happens my USB drive is a Synology with 60 or 80 terabytes of storage that's accessible by any wired or wireless computer anywhere in the building. So to fix these two security defaults that Windows 11 sets for your protection, I have these PowerShell commands. Now previously I had shown this using the policy editor because it only affected pro versions, but then a later update started affecting home versions that don't have the GP edit command. So instead, the current update is just use PowerShell universally, run it as an administrator, and just copy and paste that command there that's turning off, we got to confirm. That command turns off SMB client signing, which again, it's there for security, but we're on a private network, it's silly to me. And then we want to enable guest fallback, which is Windows used to always fall back to a guest account when an authenticated account wasn't already set. And then they turn that off. So to turn that back on, to make it true again, we go back to our PowerShell, not a command prompt. It looks like a command prompt, but it's PowerShell. Just Control V to paste that, hit enter, and hit yes. And then if I just exit that and close this window, I can now access the NAS. Go back to my network, go back over to this and over to the DS923. And now if I go to NAS, looky here. Look at there, I have access now. I used to not have to use those PowerShell commands because security of that level was not recommended. But the internet's getting more and more dangerous. Microsoft is not doing this to be a thorn in your side. They're trying to keep you safe. So people are like, oh, the damn Microsoft has to make everything so difficult. No, society around the world has to make everything so difficult by trying to steal from you. And they're trying to keep you safe because you don't realize how in danger you are when you're connecting to the network. Because if you did realize it, I wouldn't need to explain all of this to so many people. All right. Get that off my chest. Stupid stoplights. Why can't I just drive through the intersection? I don't know. I don't know, man. The world's messed up, I guess. It's a weird world. Andy Kane joins us, says hello. There's Aaron Warner saying hello. And Paul Connolly joins us and says hello. Good to see you, Paul. Frankie B in the house. Welcome in, Frankie. We did have an idea to go get like some, getting back to the whole hot dog PC. We had an idea to go to Goodwill or one of the donation stores like Savers and buy whatever's cheap as a computer and see what it is and what we can do with it. They don't sell them. Someone that works at Goodwill told me they have to disassemble computers and send them to recycling centers because of the data concern. Like they don't know enough how to take out a hard drive. So apparently the policy at Goodwill is to disassemble and send the plastics off to one, recycle circuit boards to other. But you can buy monitors and you can buy TVs and you can buy keyboards and mice and you can buy routers and modems. They don't sell computers at Goodwill. Not here in Arizona, not that I have found. So I don't know where people are getting old computers outside of Facebook Marketplace. And should I go to Facebook Marketplace? Because holy moly, people want to sell 15-year-old computers for $800 and tell you it's a gaming PC. Technically, maybe 15 years ago it was a gaming PC. They may not be lying, but I don't think they're telling the truth. They're painting that awfully nice. If you don't see what processor something has, you should be very scared. Oh, it's got this RAM and this, that, and the other. I saw somebody on eBay selling an empty case. It said it was some third-party manufacturer, pretty well-known gaming PC. And there's a picture of a dingy case that's gross, like something was spilled on it. They couldn't be bothered to clean up. And it's empty. There's no power supply, no motherboard. But all the motherboard, power supply, everything was there in the specifications. And it said you get, when you finally read it, it says you get the case only, as pictured. So why did you tell us what it used to have? It's intentionally deceiving. Do you know how much they wanted for this dingy, old, nasty case? $350 plus shipping. Are you high? We should go look at it, just for entertainment purposes. We should go look at eBay. Let me bring this computer up. And let me show you what's happening. Everybody wants to take advantage of everybody else. I don't see much honesty on eBay anymore. I don't see much integrity. It's, I want to take you for everything you're willing to voluntarily give up by believing me. It's though you're their enemy and you have it coming. Let's just go to eBay. And we'll type in gaming PC. Because I thought, you know what? Maybe I could buy a broken gaming PC on eBay, and that could be content, kind of like a hot dog build. And you can scroll down here under the options. And by the way, look at these gaming PCs, right? I typed in gaming PC and it's bringing up it's bringing up a computer that looks like an office PC. Maybe it's a sleeper. But if we scroll down here, there should be condition. Let's see. Features, storage, operating system. PCs, desktops, all-in-ones, condition. Let's say for parts or not working, right? In order to get the lowest prices. And then let's sort by lowest price plus shipping first. Custom built gaming PC, parts only, $170. Tells us nothing. It's obviously a Cooler Master case with a lot of stickers, so you know that's fast. It's Pikachu and Apple with an ASRock sticker as well. Don't bother cleaning it before you take pictures of it. And be careful of the reflection in the glass. I hope you have pants on. All right, let's see. What does it tell us about this? The computer is not functional, missing a hard drive, old computer. So specs that I am uncertain of will be marked with a question mark. So I don't know what I have, but I'm going to tell you how much I want for it. Okay. So we have a Ryzen 5 2600. That's a second gen Zen processor, which is really, really, when that was new, that was maybe 200 bucks, not even. It was a cheap, to this day, a Ryzen 5 2600. Could you even buy one of those? Let's see, Amazon. How much is that brand new? Ryzen 5 2600. 125 bucks with a cooler. For some reason, Ryzen 5 5500 is half the price. Oh, you gotta love it. You can buy the old slow one for twice as much as the newer one that's faster. All right. 16 gigs. It's got 4 sticks of 8, and 2 of them are non-functional. Oh boy. Well, thank you for mentioning you have 4 when you really only have 2, but don't throw them away. Be sure and sell them. The GPU is an AMD RX 570. Really? Really? AMD RX 570. Oops. So the CPU and the graphics card, brand new, fully functional, brand new, clean, $275. Which, by the way, you could get a better CPU for half the price. But regardless, it's a $150 graphics card, maybe. Like, I don't know which one he's got, but just to get some kind of ballpark estimate here. Some parts may still be working and can be sold as used. Okay. What kind of feedback does this guy have? Has he been on eBay before? No. This may not even be a real person. This could all be a scam. And when you pay them, they send you an empty box. And then eBay says, well, you've got a tracking number. It shows it arrived. Maybe, I don't know. What else? $85. Empty gaming PC tower. Oh, you can buy an empty tower that's $85. Why? Boy, there's a lot of stuff in there. I don't know what gaming PC tower this is. I don't see a name. I see GOAT. How much is that tower new? 90? 70? Or parts are not working. Great for someone who's building a PC. But look, the shipping is only $100.24 for the $85 case, so your total cost will be $186. You are seeing this, right? Am I hallucinating? Here's a B-Link SER6 for $189.99. As is, does not work.
Yes.
Oh, you made your slushy copy? All right, this may be the one I was talking about. Skytech Gaming Archangel Gaming gaming desktop case with fans. Okay, $196.51. It's somebody spilled something on it, and look at how dirty it is. I bet that tastes like chocolate. Look at the inside. There's nothing in here. There's a liquid cooler that may or may not work without any mounting brackets to put it on your motherboard, so good luck. Good luck with that. And then there's a rear fan. At least it's installed in the right orientation. And there's information from Skytech. Apparently when they took the motherboard out, they decided that the I/O shield would not be needed for the motherboard and that all motherboards use the same I/O shield. So we better keep that as part of a case. We could probably look up that serial number to see what was in here, but it does say it was built last year. It's only a year old and it's already in that rough shape. What did they do to it? Oh, look, it's missing a foot. Oh, man. Oh, man. Do they not know what a trash can is for? What did they do? What is that? Somebody come here and taste it. Is that food? It's only a year old. Okay, but the good news is they only want $196.51, and the shipping is free. Okay, I'm sorry. What did I do to this person? Why are they trying to be so vengeful and take advantage of other people that haven't done them wrong? Why would they instigate animosity to a complete stranger? They know that should go in the trash can, right? Like, they can't even be bothered to hit it with Windex, or they did, and that's as clean as they could get it. It's garbage. Would you know what? Maybe I've got the wrong approach. We have a trash bin we fill up every single week. Once a week, they collect trash, and they limit how much trash we can throw away. We throw away perfectly good plastic bags. We throw away perfectly good empty soup cans. We throw away perfectly good bottles of tomato juice that are empty. We throw away used paper towels that could probably be dried out and used again. Would anybody like to buy my trash? Sorry, would anybody like to buy my used paper towels? I think we have some used Kleenex in there and some used Band-Aids. I will make you a great deal. I'm only going to charge you twice the price of a brand new box of Band-Aids, plus shipping. Who's buying this stuff? It's free to list things on eBay now, and they only charge you a fee when it sells based on how much it sells for. eBay takes a cut, a commission. So eBay's like, you can list whatever you want for free. So now people are taking things out of their trash can, thinking, well, maybe somebody's dumb enough to buy it. That scares me. It scares me that even one person would be dumb enough to buy that. But give it time. If eBay will just keep listing it for free endlessly until it sells. What difference does it make if it sits in the garage or it sits in the trash can? In the trash can, it's gone forever. But it sits out in the garage, and one day you get a notification that you forgot you listed it, and it keeps auto listing, and then it says you've sold it. Well, I guess you just pocketed $200 that would have gone in the trash can. What? How do you sleep at night doing that to another person? Barry Klein said non-functional RAM sticks make excellent box openers. So does a box cutter, but you know, box cutters don't do well for computer RAM. Oh man, what am I gonna do? Barry Klein said P.T. Barnum had it right. What, there's a fool born every minute, or fool in their money, or soon parted? What did he say? You can fool some of the people all of the time. What? I forgot which one it was. Now look, I did not specifically go looking for those items. I just typed in, you know, what would I look for if I was looking to buy some used computers? Maybe we can fix them on the channel. That's a genuine search. And what came up? I can't control the search results. It was that easy for me to find things that are completely bogus. In fact, we haven't found one authentic real deal. So let me go back. Barry Klein said P.T. Barnum said a sucker is born every minute. Yeah, well, that doesn't mean it's okay to take advantage of them. It's not the way my mama raised me. Let's go back over here, because could I find one? Oh man, so disappointed in the human race. They do this to each other. Let's keep looking. What do we have? iBuyPower gaming PC. Parts only $200. Free local pickup. So they're not going to ship it. They got zero feedback. So with zero feedback, I don't know. Could be a scammer. One feedback, zero feedback. There's a Dell gaming PC. Those two words, Dell gaming, don't go together, but okay. Look, it's $100 plus $100 to ship it. Starter-friendly gaming PC, $153.75 or best offer plus $85 for delivery. And look how much they've cleaned it up. Look at this. They really took their time to really showcase how nice of a computer this is by using an air duster and wiping it down with a rat. Oh no, they didn't do that. Does the dust come for free? Do I get to clean it myself for that price? What's in here? One of them fancy Dell motherboard. That is a Dell motherboard if I've ever seen one. See how the fan goes on with an angle like that? I've never seen a cooler like that outside of a Dell. Oh look, the rear case fan is blowing air into the case. Oh goody. Oh good. Oh good. So this way this air can come in the front and this air can come in the back, and it can all just kind of fight with a whirlpool in the middle. That's what that middle fan's for. Keeps the whirlpool wait, what's up here? Is there more fans up here? Oh good, then it pulls the whirlpool up and out the top. Okay. Look at that cable management. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Where's that NVMe drive? The what? This doesn't even have NVMe. Do you know how old this is? Does it even, honest, does it tell you? This system is from 1997. Hey, look, it's an Intel i7. Which one? An i7-4790. What motherboard does it have? I'm just curious. Who makes that motherboard? Oh, I guess I forgot to put that information in. Oh, wait a minute. Watch videos on the Dell Optiplex 9020. This is that design. In other words, it's a Dell Optiplex 9020 guts put into a different case. It's paired with the 1070 Ti that makes an amazing 100 frames per second starter gaming rig. Absolutely. You know what? This one gets 100 frames per second too, the one we just built. All I got to do is bring up my games, and I mean, that frames per second on this is incredible. Watch this. Stupid. Why do people do this to complete strangers? Why are you out to get people that never did anything to you? Come on, is there anything legitimate in any of this? Is there one sincere used price that's cheaper than buying new that isn't working and therefore oh wait, here's this one. Custom gaming PC, parts only. Hey, I think they blew the dust out of this one. Now we're talking. This guy's got a hole of 17 feedback with 100% positive. Okay, we've got a 140 millimeter cooler in the back. EVGA something, GeForce 750, Corsair power supply. Oh, we do have RGB on the side panel that connects with a 3-pin power cable. Oh, and there's another one bringing air in from the bottom just to make sure that your floor is clean. It's going to always be sucking up dirt off the floor and bringing it into your PC because airflow is important, especially when you have a liquid cooler. What is it? Maybe it's got an i9 in there. Let's see. Or parts not working. Custom white box. Okay, what is in it? How much RAM? What power supply? Well, I can see the power supply. What CPU? What chipset? What motherboard? What are we dealing with? I don't know. Nobody knows. Hold on. Wait, we got information here. Okay, we got an ASUS motherboard. It's a Sabertooth 990FX. Okay. I swear, I am not making this up. Okay, watch this. Sabertooth 990. What was it? AX? FX? FX. Release date. "15 years ago. 14 years ago. Wait, no. 2009 is the earliest review. 2000. This system that they're trying to sell you, where'd it go? This motherboard is DDR3. The CPU, an AMD FX 8350. Check this out. You can do this research yourself. AMD FX 8350 was released in October of 2012. That's 13 years ago. Wonder if it's Windows 11 compliant. Come here and let me smack you. Get over here. This is a complete waste of time. Not one genuine offer have we seen. Who's buying? Anybody? I am positively baffled at our society. Disappointed people do this to each other. Disappointed people won't sell something honestly. This is 13 years old. It has a value of about $60. It'll cost $100 to ship it. So let's do local pickup only, 60 bucks, get it out of here. Or let's donate it. Do the right thing and donate it. Get it out of the house. Because it's only getting older and more useless every minute. Different values. When your values don't align with the sellers, don't do business with them. Gregory Jenoff became a supporter. Right on. Thank you, Gregory. Thanks for joining our tech club. Shop Persian Rugs with a $2 super chat said you don't have to use used inspection gloves. How about all those those nitrile gloves that have thermal compound all over them? Those could be reused. Let's sell those too. $3 each. The whole box is $6. No. These are special. These have my palm sweat in them. Barry Klein said, that's not dirt on the case, it's patina. Oh, is that what you call it? It's octoplasm. He slimed me. So what we're going to do from here, everything went great today, right? I couldn't ask for this to go any better. Oh, I was going to do crystal Bismarck, and I got distracted. Hold on a minute. Let me do that right quick. Open source projector. Let's close all these ridiculous things out. Crystal Bismarck. I don't expect, look, 7300 is the max. If I see, 6900 or above on the sequential reads, I'm satisfied. And if I see 7300, well, you just can't do any better than that. But don't expect you're always going to hit that absolute pinnacle. As long as you're within that range, it's very, very fast, and you're not going to notice a couple. Holy cow, 7347. It's actually faster than I'm expecting. But I'm not going to notice that as a human being opening and closing windows and programs. If that said 6900, I still wouldn't notice it. Like the difference between 6900 megabytes per second and 7400, wow, 7400, so let's say 500 megabits per second when transferring most files results in a transfer time within 2-3 milliseconds of difference. So if you're that finicky over your transfer times, I don't think you're human.
Can you check your connection? A lot of buffering, severing.
Connection looks great.
Yes?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. But there you go. I mean, we'll see what the write speeds are, probably around, I would guess, 7,000. That's insanely fast. Now, if we went, I think this is Gen 5, and if we wanted to go Gen 5, we'd be battling a lot more heat. We'd pay twice as much for the same amount of storage. We'd see numbers of 12 to 14,000 up there. And again, the higher those numbers are, the less you're going to notice it. So when you pay for more, the actual practical result for most people is nothing a human can notice. It is so tiny that the more you spend, the less of a difference you're going to notice. So you reach a point of diminishing returns. Same is true with RAM. You get 32 gigs of RAM, you're fine. The minute you go 64, 96, 128, you're probably making things take longer. And you're likely, it's only a psychological benefit. There's no actual benefit unless you are using a very memory intensive, resource intensive application like AutoCAD, or maybe Adobe products that you're really into, like you're really diving deep in those. A lot of people use Adobe products, barely use what the product can do. But if you're one of those people and you're like, oh yeah, I use every bell, whistle, and feature, then yeah, for you, you're the exception. But for the rest of us, we're wasting money. We're buying an idea. That's your money, and if you want to spend it on ideas, you're welcome to. But ideas are hard to resell. Just because you saw something in it doesn't mean you're going to find another buyer. Just look at the ideas we saw for sale on eBay versus the reality. Their idea is, this is worth this money, and you and I both know it's not even worth a nickel. In fact, I want my money back for the bandwidth I used to look at it. All right, a pretty significant difference on the write speeds at 6,700, but again, you know what? You're not going to notice it. If that came up at 7,000 as I predicted, or 6,900, when using the machine to load applications, save data, you will not see that difference. In fact, you probably wouldn't see the difference if that was half. If that was at 3,600 or 3,200 megabytes per second, it's still going to appear to be super fast to you as a human on almost everything you do with your computer. And nothing that's connecting to your computer will run at that speed. Not your internet, not your USB drives, and not other internal drives, unless you have another Gen 4 drive and you just like to move data back and forth in circles. I don't know who this is for, but it's plenty fast to grow into. So this machine, I can tell you very confidently, will always seem fast right up until the day it's no longer compatible and people go, oh, it's all e-waste. There's nothing wrong with it. Oh yeah, there is something wrong with it, the security. Eventually, it will stop being secure. Eventually, the technology that comes out will have enhanced instruction sets and security protocols that this was not designed with, but it'll always be fast. All right, there's our performance numbers. Again, couldn't ask for it to be better. Yes, you could spend more for Western Digital Black if you want to get the same warranty and the same performance, and just pay more for it. Don't let me get in your way. But for those who know, you're getting the same components for a fraction of the price with the same warranty and the same performance and the same reliability. Knowledge is power. Thank you again, Charlie Purdy. Thank you again, Buster. Thank you to all the members for hanging out with us today. It's been a fun Friday show. We did an extra hour just to mess around because having such a wonderful chat room interaction makes me, want to stick around. I'm enjoying myself. Thank you for letting me enjoy myself. Lately, I don't know. It's been a challenge, but without you, without all of you, this content would not have been made possible. Through your memberships and your generosity, I just can't thank you enough. As a reminder, just one more time, those SCD keys. I need to go there after the show, and I'm going to buy me a Windows 10 Pro license, and I'm going to plug it in here. Okay, all the links for SCD keys, they're in the video notes. They're real, legitimate, supported product keys. They'll support you for free for 6 months, for less than the cost of going to eat at Arby's for one person. And that product key is good for the life of that motherboard. Think about it. 30% off, it's $15 US dollars for Windows 10 Pro to activate Windows 11 Pro for life on that motherboard. They should be sold out. Anyway, links are in the video notes, and our thanks to the folks at SCD Key for making sure they're taking care of our audience. And if they don't, you let us know, because I stand behind it 100%. And if you want to let us know anything, there's our email address right there on the screen if you want to reach out. People want to buy things they see on there, we'll sell them. You got to reach out, talk about that privately. Or you want a custom build, something like that. Talk about it privately. A lot of times it doesn't make sense with the cost of shipping and the propensity for damage. But if you're willing to accept that liability and you still want us to do it, We're happy to do it. But we got to talk about those details in email, not a public discussion. And thanks to Mara, who's our channel administrator, all the work she does in the background. She made today's thumbnail. Did you guys like today's thumbnail? She did a great job, as always. Thanks to all of you. Am I forgetting anybody? I appreciate Mike's unboxing, reviews, and how-to. Stopping in and joining us there. Always good to see him. And be sure and check out his YouTube channel, Mike's Unboxing, Reviews, and How-To. If you like my content, I think you'll like his too. Scott, the computer guy, Ask Your Computer Guy. Really just going to call him Ask Your Computer Guy. His name's Scott. Check out his YouTube channel. He did a great live video and letting people ask completely irrelevant questions and the same questions, and he didn't seem to mind that at all for an hour and a half. And go check him out, because the more feedback he gets, the more people tell him, hey, I enjoyed the live video, the more likely he's going to keep doing that on a regular basis. And I personally want to see him do that more. Don't you? It's fantastic. It's a wealth of information he's sharing for free. What's not to like? Also, Doug Betts, live Windows training with Doug Betts. He was live earlier today, talking a little about YouTube. Well, there's differences between YouTube copyright issues and YouTube takedowns. So Doug was a little frustrated because, yeah, if you have a copyright violation, YouTube makes it really clear. And Doug's like, here, I'll show you how easy this is. But when YouTube takes a video down, it's gone. There's no way to know where the problem. Anyway, he has a valid point that it's not all just sort of one absolute truth. Depending on what kind of violation you have, YouTube can make it very clear, or they can make it very obscured. And so the reason this came up, well, I don't know why it came up for Doug, but for Scott, who's been doing really well on YouTube, they kind of came after him and didn't really explain why, and he's left guessing. So he's pretty pissed off about it. It's very unjust. And I think they put his channel on a warning that if he violates it again in the next 90 days, they'll close his channel permanently and ban him from being a creator on YouTube. So now he's got to be extra careful. But since he doesn't know exactly what he did wrong, how do you proceed? What happens to your confidence? You just can't say what you want without potential permanent consequences. So he's worked up about it, as he should be. Nonetheless, he did his live video was fantastic, and maybe he just needs to do more of that. Go let him know. Go over there and tell him. Make more live content, Scott. And we'll have him back on the show as well. And Doug, and hopefully we'll get Mike's unboxing on here too. I'm working on him. I'll wear him out. There's Bajin guy saying hello there. All right. Thank you all for all of your super chat, your support. We'll see you again. I don't know if I'll be live tomorrow. I do have content to make. I'm just not sure if we'll have time. Sunday, I will likely be back. Sundays have been really good for me. So I don't know what I'm doing on Sunday, but I think I'll be back on Sunday. Every Monday, of course, as members know, I hope you know, we do members-only videos. That's content only members can see. So for example, we covered an Intel NUC that was, the NVMe drive was running slow. And that was fixed through a BIOS update, but the problem is Intel doesn't make the NUC anymore and doesn't provide BIOS updates. So how did I get a BIOS update? And did the BIOS update actually fix the NVMe problem? Only members know, because that's the kind of content they get in order to make it worth their while to stay subscribed, to feel like they're getting more than the free viewers. So the free viewers are welcome to join us, but understand you're not getting all the content. And by supporting us, you're enabling us to make more content for everybody. So I hope you guys support us and you want to see us stick around and continue to be independent from corporations. And the market will decide what happens going forward. I'm looking forward to continuing this infinitely, but it kind of depends on our viewership and whether or not people want to help, or people just want to sit back and watch us suffer. We're good, and thank you again. We'll see you all very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I think it's time to barbecue. It's only 105 degrees. I think I could just put the food on the sidewalk. Saved on the fuel. Anybody like some gravelly steak? I'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.